Chapter 394. His martial soul was skeleton, which was why he could do this. Using this soul skill, it was very difficult for the enemy to hit him. But unfortunately, Wang Feng used the mysterious underworld spike to cover the back of his neck, forming a steel plate. With a punch, he used the vibration of the steel plate to soften his bones and turn them into hyperplasia. For a moment, Jing Ling felt dizzy and weak, instantly losing the ability to fight. In less than 5 seconds, Jing Ling was also defeated. His defeat left everyone scratching their head. Because 9-1 Kai's attack was a little unbelievable. After I used bone softening, I didn't suffer much damage when he punched me. Logically speaking, I should have been able to last for 10 seconds. After getting off the stage, Jing Ling smiled bitterly. Bone softening caused his body to have an effect similar to a rubber band. But he used the soul bone to form a mold similar to a steel plate on the back of my neck. His punch didn't hit me, but the mold shook crazily. I felt numb all over from my neck down, and I couldn't use any strength. Jing Ling shook his head. Tang San and the others were silent. Then, it was Lone Wolf Huang Yuan's turn. As an assault-type soul master, his strength wasn't as good as Tai Long's, and his speed wasn't as good as Jing Ling's, but he had both. He was Dai Mubai's substitute, which was also a weakened version. Wang Feng defeated him in less than 5 seconds. The 3 substitutes finished fighting. The fourth to go up was Xiao Wu. She skipped up to the ring. 9-1 Kai, please advise me, Xiao Wu said with a smile. She was an agility type, and in terms of agility, she was only slightly inferior to Zhu Zhuqing, and that was only because of her soul power. Her soul skills were all single-target soul skills. Once entangled with her, it would be difficult to win. Especially after Xiao Wu had the teleportation soul skill, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Unless you could predict where she would teleport to. But it was almost impossible to predict. Furthermore, Xiao Wu's body was very flexible, even more powerful than Jing Ling after using her soul skill. She could use all kinds of techniques to dodge the enemy. It could be said that Xiao Wu was the hardest to fight in a 1v1. However, because she was stalling, Xiao Wu didn't attack after the match started. Wang Feng didn't hesitate. Against an agile soul master like Xiao Wu, he had a way to defeat her quickly. Seeing that Jiu Yi was rushing over, Xiao Wu also moved. However, she was still not as fast as Wang Feng. The two of them ran and chased. Soon, Wang Feng's hand reached out and was about to grab Xiao Wu's shoulder. However, Xiao Wu suddenly jumped up and did a 180-degree flip in the air, instantly arriving behind 9-1 open. There's a flaw. Xiao Wu didn't want to dodge at all. When he saw that the other party had revealed an opening, he would naturally attack without any hesitation. Although a 9-1 opening was strong, wasn't he looking down on her a little too much by attacking without using his soul bone? Xiao Wu put her hands on Wang Feng's shoulders and pulled him away. Then, she kicked at Wang Feng's lower back. It really was her first soul skill, waist bow. But just as her feet were about to land on his back, she saw countless black rays spreading from her hands to her arms. Crack! Almost instantaneously, the dark light Xian Ming thorn had formed an iron sheath around Xiao Wu's 2 arms. Xiao Wu's expression changed. Her hands seemed to have a few thousand kilograms of strength, so heavy that it was difficult for her to move. She was suddenly jolted awake. Jiu Yi Kai didn't use his soul bone to attack. Instead, he used his soul bone to attach to my body when I touched him? Xiao Wu remembered that Tang San had said that a 9-1 opening soul bone weighed at least 4,000 kilograms. If such a heavy thing was suddenly placed on her body, it would be like a rabbit wearing an iron sheath armor. Not to mention waist bow, she wouldn't even be able to jump. Her hands felt like they were filled with lead, and she couldn't use her hands to support her waist. This caused her legs to be very weak when they landed on Wang Feng's back. Furthermore, when Xiao Wu's legs landed on Wang Feng's back, countless black rays instantly covered her legs. Dong! Xiao Wu's legs directly smashed into the arena. You! Xiao Wu looked at Jiu Yikai angrily. At this moment, her hands and feet seemed to be covered with a layer of iron armor. In total, it was at least 4,000 kilograms, more than 2 tons. If it was Dai Mubai, she could still accept it. She had the soft bone rabbit martial soul, and her physical fitness couldn't compare to Dai Mubai's. Suddenly, there was an additional 2 tons of weight, and she couldn't move for a while. Could it be that she had to teleport while carrying 2 tons of weight? You lost. Wang Feng let out a hoarse laugh. Xiao Wu lost the fastest. She lost even faster than the previous substitutes, because she didn't expect her opponent to defeat her in such a way. The audience below the arena obviously didn't expect it either. Tang San and the others were stunned. After all, Xiao Wu was only rank 40 and didn't have her 4th soul ring. Although she was very strong, Wang Feng had already thought of a way to restrain her. Don't you like to jump around? I made you unable to jump. You can't do anything about it, right? After Xiao Wu walked down, she was very unwilling. Suddenly, she could somewhat understand how Jiu Yikai felt when he knocked Hu Wushuang out of the arena on the first day. Xiao Wu's defeat made Tang San and the others a little silent. Dreams were always full. Reality was always thin. Although they had come up with a strategy to fight Jiu Yikai, they thought that they would at least have a chance to win based on Tang San's analysis of Jiu Yikai. But they didn't expect that starting from the first match, Tai Long, 4 people in a row were almost defeated extremely quickly. I forgot a problem. Tang San shook his head and sighed. Although we are analyzing them, they also know us. Judging from these 4 matches, 9-1 Open clearly has a clear grasp of our strength, and can even discern where our weaknesses are. From Tai Long to Xiao Wu, especially Xiao Wu, they could obviously delay Jiu Yikai for a long time. But as soon as they revealed a slight flaw, Jiu Yikai instantly used a way that no one could imagine to make them lose their fighting ability. We have to be careful in every match. The 5th to fight. It was Ma Hongjun. Although Ma Hongjun was a long-range attacker, his speed and strength were not weak. It was just that his skills were more of a long-range attack, and he could fly. The rapid defeat of the first 4 matches forced Ma Hongjun to fight. This was because he could delay the time to the greatest extent because he had the temporary ability to fly. After the match began, Ma Hongjun directly used his 3rd soul skill, Soaring Phoenix Wings, flew into the air, and then looked at Jiu Yikai with incomparable vigilance, to prevent the pitch-black bow from appearing in the other party's hand and shooting him down. The other party's bow and arrow could turn. Ma Hongjun remembered it very clearly. This person is full of holes. If I'm not careful, I'll fall into his trap. Ma Hongjun thought to himself, but if he wants to hit me with his bow and arrow, it won't be that simple. However, soon what he wanted to see happened. A black light condensed in Jiu Yikai's hand, and a pitch-black bow suddenly appeared. The bowstring was pulled to a full moon, and 9 pitch-black arrows pierced through the clouds towards Ma Hongjun. End of chapter. Chapter 395. It's really coming? I won't fall for it. Ma Hongjun's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. Now that he was prepared, it was not impossible to dodge these 9 arrows, even though it was a little difficult. However, at this moment, all of a sudden, the 9 arrows that were coming at him at high speed changed. They merged into one and formed a big net in the air. Ma Hongjun was stunned. Damn, the arrows didn't change direction this time. They changed shape in the air? Fortunately, Ma Hongjun dodged in time. The big net did not wrap around his wings, but only his legs. Changing the arrow's direction involved changing the trajectory. Wang Feng needed to concentrate to do it, but to change the shape of the arrow, he only needed to control his soul power. This was another plan that Wang Feng had prepared when he fought against the Divine Wind team. However, without changing the arrow's direction, the sudden attack would end quickly. After all, even if the arrow changed shape in the air, it could be seen that it was dodged, and the arrow's direction could not be detected. Ma Hongjuan's legs were tied up. His legs felt heavy as if they were tied with hundreds of kilograms of iron. Seeing this, Ma Hongjuan's heart could not help but sink. This 9-to-1 opening was really too cunning. Even if the big net did not completely tie him up, he would be in trouble next. Soon, the second wave of 9 arrows came and formed a big net in the air. This time, it only tied Ma Hongjuan's waist. Then, until the fourth wave, Ma Hongjuan's whole body was covered by the net formed by the mysterious dark spike. He was like a big bird carrying a huge rock that weighed thousands of kilograms. He could only fall to the ground with hatred. The Divine Wind team was sweating profusely. They were glad that they did not choose to fight 9-on-1. Otherwise, they would end up like this fatty. Although they were prepared for the arrows, it was difficult to dodge them when they suddenly changed shape in the air and formed a big net. However, Ma Hongjun lasted for 11 seconds, which was the most time for Wang Feng to use the mysterious dark spike. In Wang Feng's opinion, it was not bad. But for Tang San and the rest, the time difference was too big. They thought that with Fatty's flying ability and his defense against 9-on-1, he could at least hold on for 20 seconds or more. But he was still defeated quickly by the opponent. The 4 waves of arrows turned Fatty into a reticulated phoenix. When he landed, his entire body was covered by the dense black net formed by the mysterious underworld spikes. It looked somewhat comical. After Wang Feng retrieved the mysterious dark spike, Ma Hongjun cursed as he walked down. It seems to be far from what we expected. Oscar looked at the silent crowd and encouraged them. Don't be discouraged, there are still 3 more. However, it was only at this moment that everyone could feel the immense pressure of facing a 9-to-1 battle. Really, you really don't know what he will do. He was the 6th to enter the arena. Dai Mubai. After the match began, Dai Mubai's martial soul possessed his body and transformed into the Vajra White Tiger. However, he didn't use a long-range soul skill like his White Tiger's Fierce Light Wave or his White Tiger Meteor Shower. The former had a low hit rate and was a waste of time. The latter needed to store up power. Although it covered a large area and could hit 9 out of 10 times, the opponent would definitely be hit by it when the time came. In fact, in terms of strength, Dai Mubai was the most balanced of the 7. He had defense, tankiness, and offense. He had group attacks and could kite from afar. He was strong and had high defense. Although he was slower than agility-type soul masters, it was enough. His soul power was also the highest. However, he was also the easiest to hit. This was because he couldn't dodge Wang Feng's attack. For example, Xiao Wu and Jing Ling, who were very agile, it was difficult to attack them directly. It was easy to waste time. However, Dai Mubai was different. White Tiger Protective Barrier. Seeing Wang Feng's attack, Dai Mubai didn't panic. He used his first soul skill and erected a protective barrier. This time, he didn't just defend one part of his body. As 9-to-1's attacks were too strange, Dai Mubai didn't know where he was going to hit. Hence, he covered his entire body and didn't need to conserve his soul power. Hence, Wang Feng didn't say anything. A long spear appeared. It was a rapid thrust. A simple and straightforward spear pierced through Dai Mubai's White Tiger Protective Barrier. His White Tiger Protective Barrier didn't just provide external defense. It also boosted his strength. Seeing that his barrier was pierced, Dai Mubai was shocked. Fortunately, he had rich battle experience and quickly dodged to the side. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Their opponent's soul bone was far stronger than they had imagined. Even his White Tiger Protective Barrier couldn't block it. It seemed to have the ability to break through soul power barriers. Could it be that his opponent's soul bone is mixed with a special tool? Tang San was also shocked. Its penetrative power is so strong that Dai Mubai's White Tiger Protective Barrier couldn't block it at all. It's stronger than all the hidden weapons I have at this stage. Even the Dragon Beard Needle can't compare to it. What kind of soul bone could have such terrifying penetrative power? After the barrier was broken, the spear in Wang Feng's hand turned into a hammer. He quickly hammered Dai Mubai and sent him flying. However, Dai Mubai lasted for 15 seconds. He was considered to have reached the standard. He was the only one who completed the mission on time. The seventh person to go up was Tang San. Among them, Tang San was the most difficult to deal with. Wang Feng quietly looked at Tang San. Although the two of them had fought many times, Wang Feng didn't only use the mysterious dark spike. Especially at this level, he almost didn't use it. At this moment, Tang San was no longer the same as when he was young. Even if he couldn't use hidden weapons, his various Tang sect weapons, mysterious jade hands, controlling crane, capturing dragon, and ghost shadow perplexing track, had been practiced to a very high level. His martial soul, blue silver grass, also had 4 soul rings and a 10,000-year soul ring. It was the strongest in a one-on-one battle. He had won all his previous matches. No one was a match for Tang San. The match started again. This was already the 8th match. The other teams were also dizzying. No other team could send 7 people from Shrek Academy consecutively. Furthermore, all 7 of them were defeated at an extremely fast speed. It was simply unbelievable. The style of 9-to-1 matches was also very similar to the promotion matches. There was only one word to describe it: straightforward. It was straightforward to fight, and it was also straightforward to watch. After the match began, Tang San didn't hesitate at all. The blue-silver grass in his hand glowed as he used Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. However, he didn't attack 9-to-1. Instead, he circled around the arena. Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track allowed him to be faster than ordinary Assault-type Soul Masters, but he was much slower than Agility-type Soul Masters like Xiao Wu and Zhu Qing. His advantage was that he could dodge the enemy's attack. However, even Xiao Wu's speed couldn't compare to 9-to-1's, so he had no advantage at all. Moreover, his opponent's reaction was too fast. Whether it was bind or spiderweb, it was impossible to control him immediately. The instantaneous blue-silver cage wasn't tough enough and wasted soul power. However, Tang San quickly moved towards the arena and quickly covered the ground with a layer of blue-silver grass. End of chapter. Chapter 396. With the layer of blue-silver grass on the ground, as long as the other party dared to come, he could defend and counterattack, greatly increasing the release speed of the bind soul skill. Coupled with the parasitic soul skill, he could restrain the other party as quickly as possible and delay the other party. This tactic was very good. Could be said to be the best way to deal with 9 Ikai. However, as the blue-silver grass on the ground increased, 9 Ikai moved. First, a black light condensed in his left hand, and a long blade appeared. Then, another long blade appeared in his right hand, but this blade was very big. It was similar to a crescent moon blade. Dual blades, one big and one small. But this was not enough. The black light condensed from 9 Ikai's mouth and formed a long blade again. 3 blades. Seeing this, everyone was slightly stunned. 9 Ikai wanted to split his attention into 3? Directly control 3 blades? Not giving Tang San any chance to bind with the blue-silver grass? Tang San was slightly startled. At this moment, 9 Ikai rushed towards him. The crescent moon blade in his right hand was directly supported on the ground as he rushed towards Tang San's blue-silver grass. The terrifying momentum caused the crescent moon blade to drag out countless sparks and chi on the ground, directly cutting the blue-silver grass on the ground into pieces. It swept across like a crushing machine. Bind, Tang San said in a deep voice. The other party's physical fitness was far superior to his. He must not let the other party get close, even if he had Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track and Controlling Crane Capturing Dragon. The blue-silver grass bloomed with light, and countless pieces of blue-silver grass on the ground quickly attacked Wang Feng. Because they were cut, the release speed of the bind soul skill was greatly reduced. At this moment, the long blade in Nine Ikai's left hand and mouth suddenly flashed, instantly cutting these blue-silver grass vines that had not yet wrapped around his body into pieces. Spider web binding. Tang San condensed a ball of light in his hand and threw it towards Nine Ikai, forming a huge blue-silver grass spider web in the air. Change! Nine Ikai muttered, and the long blade in his hand turned into countless broken blades, streaking across the air with dozens of black lights, instantly cutting the spider web into pieces. Then, it quickly formed a long blade in his hand. After a series of attacks, Tang San's attack did not have any effect and could not delay the other party's approach. He's really strong. Tang San's heart sank. His opponent's usage of soul bones had reached the pinnacle. He was doing three things at the same time, using the momentum of his blade to break through the blue-silver grass that covered the ground, preventing him from quickly releasing his bind soul skill. Furthermore, the long blade in his hand and in his mouth could change forms, allowing him to easily cut through the blue-silver grass that was attacking him from all directions. Even if the binding spiderweb was successfully cast, the opponent would be able to change the form of a long blade in time, forming countless broken blades to cut through the large area of the spiderweb vine. To be honest, this was the first time Tang San faced a 9-to-1 situation. That tide-like pressure made him think of a six-ringed Soul Emperor. Although the abilities were completely different, the pressure was similar. Soon Jiyikai, who had broken Tang San's attack, approached Tang San. Wang Feng knew very well that if he wanted to prevent Tang San from using the Tang Sect's martial arts techniques, he only needed to use his physical strength to crush him. To put it simply, he was faster and stronger than him. Tang San's ghost shadow perplexing track and controlling crane capturing dragon would not work. To put it simply, he needed to use strength to break technique. Wang Feng threw a punch at Tang San. Tang San's eyes flashed with light. He could dodge this punch. He even wrapped himself in the blue-silver cage. But at this moment, Wang Feng withdrew the mysterious underworld spike, hid the mysterious underworld armor, and activated second gear. A huge airflow emerged from this punch. The speed of this punch increased by several times. Fast. Extremely fast. It was an extremely sudden acceleration. This punch was so fast that Tang San couldn't imagine it. It wasn't until he was sent flying by the punch and the blue-silver cage shattered that a thought flashed through his mind. Jiyikai was actually hiding his strength. As this thought flashed through his mind, Tang San's figure changed in the air and landed steadily on the stage, his face incomparably solemn. Just that punch just now, the opponent did not use the power of the soul bone, but the speed was extremely fast. Although it was only an instant explosion, Tang San could still keenly feel that the opponent's strength had obviously increased by a level just now. "Brother, how are you?" Xiao Wu hurriedly walked over. Tang San's face was a little pale. He coughed a few times and said, "I'm fine, just some internal injuries." "What happened just now?" Dai Mubai asked in a deep voice. Tang San turned around and looked at Jiyikai in the arena. He slowly said, "Jiyikai was still hiding his strength. I should have been able to block his punch just now, but the sudden increase in speed directly made me unable to react at all." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Hiding his strength? Hiding his strength? Fighting so many rounds? Jiyikai still had strength that he did not use? This was too exaggerated, wasn't it? Everyone looked at Jiyikai in the arena in shock. All along, the opponent's strength was very obvious. A mysterious soul bone that could change forms, comparable to a rank 60 soul warrior's physical fitness. They never thought that Jiyikai was still hiding his strength. How deep did he have to hide it? For a moment, a sense of fear arose in everyone's hearts. There's no need to be surprised. Tang San coughed a few more times. We miscalculated. Just as Brother Feng said, if we can hide our strength, why can't others? Everyone was silent. Yes, if they could hide their strength, why couldn't others? It was just that hiding it for so long without showing it was really terrifying. Then, is Zhu Qing still fighting? Xiao Wu asked. Yes, Zhu Zhuqing said. Although she knew that she couldn't win, she wouldn't admit defeat just like that since all 7 of them had fought. However, seeing Zhu Zhuqing come up, Wang Feng frowned. He thought to himself, what are you doing here? I can't do anything to you. Once I hold back, it will be easy for others to see through it. Just now, when he instantly activated second gear and defeated Tang San, Wang Feng was not afraid that the other party would recognize him because it was too short. At this moment, seeing Zhu Zhuqing, Wang Feng felt that it was a little tricky. Firstly, it was already close to evening. Zhu Zhuqing's strength would be greatly improved. If he wanted to defeat her quickly, it would be a little troublesome if he didn't activate second gear. Secondly, he couldn't hit her too hard, but he couldn't hit her too lightly either. Otherwise, he would definitely be suspected. Especially Ning Rongrong, that girl was meticulous and sensitive. Even if Tang San and the others couldn't detect it, she would definitely be able to. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing opposite him, Wang Feng hesitated for a moment. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing quickly possessed her martial soul. At night, the Yue elf would emit a faint layer of moonlight, which was very beautiful. After being possessed by the martial soul, Zhu Zhuqing's entire body seemed to be covered with a layer of moonlight. Her charm would rise to another level, but her strength would also be stronger. Because it was the last battle, and she knew that the other party was hiding his strength, Zhu Zhuqing didn't choose to drag it out, so she planned to attack directly. It didn't matter even if she lost. Let's continue at night, please count the votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 397. The moonlight was pleasant. In such an environment, Zhu Zhuqing's current strength could be said to be the strongest among the 7 of them without any hesitation. Her speed was naturally the same. Compared to the previous few people's defensive counterattacks, Zhu Zhuqing directly took the initiative to attack. Like an aurora in the night, Zhu Zhuqing quickly attacked Wang Feng. Nine's attack style was too strange. Even Tang San could not guess what kind of attack he would use. Zhu Zhuqing naturally could not guess, but she did not need to guess. She just needed to attack. The purplish gold claws were like electric arcs, flashing across Wang Feng's line of sight. Wang Feng gently moved his body and easily dodged Zhu Zhuqing's attack. However, Zhu Zhuqing did not give Wang Feng any chance to breathe. She attacked Wang Feng without stopping. The purplish gold light flickered between the two. The terrifying attack speed dazzled the team members. Could it be that 9 open soul power is somewhat exhausted? Below the stage, Xiao Wu said in surprise, why does he keep dodging? He's not even using his soul bone? However, the 7 of them had spent more than a minute on 9's attack. Although it had exceeded Tang San's original estimate, 9's strength was still hidden when he fought with Tang San. In other words, he should have exceeded Tang San's estimate. It was impossible for him to be exhausted now. At this time, Xiao Wu could see that 9's did not seem to fight back. Could it be that he did not have a chance to attack because of Zhu Qing's high-speed attacks? No. The 2 of them seemed to have fought to the edge of the stage. At this time, Tang San seemed to have discovered something. Zhu Zhuqing's series of attacks were dodged by 9's, but the 2 of them were fighting too fast. Unknowingly, they had already reached the edge of the stage. Dark Moon Stab. Another round of attacks. Zhu Zhuqing frowned slightly. Her claws were like sharp blades, attacking the opponent. Why did 9's not fight back? Her figure seemed to teleport, bringing about a series of afterimages. Her ghostly figure was difficult for the 2 to detect. Whoosh! At this moment, Wang Feng made his move. His hand moved like lightning and directly grabbed Zhu Zhuqing's wrist. Zhu Zhuqing was stunned. In the next moment, Wang Feng pulled with his palm and moved behind Zhu Zhuqing. With a gentle push of his other hand, a powerful force directly pushed Zhu Zhuqing into the arena. He was about to be pushed off the stage. Zhu Zhuqing reacted quickly as well. The moment Zhu Zhuqing was caught by Jiui Kai, she immediately used her fourth soul skill, Moon Shadow Doppelganger. The person who was pushed out was a clone. As for the main body, he appeared behind Wang Feng. Hidden Moon Slash. Zhu Zhuqing was already very familiar with using her third soul skill after Shadow Clone technique. She seemed to have guessed that 9 odds wanted to use this method to push her into the arena. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he used Shadow Clone technique to deal a fatal blow to his opponent. Under the moonlight, every single one of her soul skills was greatly amplified. The hidden moon slash with her claws was almost impossible for her opponent to dodge. But at this moment, a black light condensed behind Jiui Kai, and a pitch-black shield instantly appeared. Boom! Zhu Zhuqing's attack directly hit the shield. In the next moment, a huge force was reflected from the shield formed by the mysterious underworld spike. Zhu Zhuqing's entire body was sent flying. The mysterious underworld shield formed by the mysterious underworld spike was similar to the mysterious underworld armor in that it also had a reflection effect. Zhu Zhuqing's attack was clearly a sure kill attack, and she didn't hold back at all. Even Dai Mubai wouldn't be able to withstand 150% of the recoil. Not to mention Zhu Zhuqing's soft body. She was like a flower that had been blown away as she was sent flying from the arena. Wang Feng's eyes flashed, and the mysterious underworld shield transformed into countless black lights that formed a long rod. With a whoosh, it flew over as if it was going to give her the final blow. Although Zhu Zhuqing felt that her body was a little weak from the shock, she could still dodge this kind of attack. She gently dodged to the side and stepped on the long rod with the tip of her foot. She barely managed to stabilize her body and then landed steadily on the ground. Seeing this, Tang San and the others immediately surrounded her. Zhu Qing, that was close. Fortunately, you reacted just now. Otherwise, you would have fallen to the ground. Xiao Wu heaved a sigh of relief. When she saw Zhu Zhuqing being sent flying in the air, she knew that she would definitely fall to the ground. Fortunately, 9 odds wanted to use the long rod to give her the final blow in order to completely knock her out of the arena. However, Zhu Zhuqing narrowly dodged it and used the force to stabilize her body in the air to land safely on the ground. This was also what everyone was thinking. Yes. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. A hint of doubt flashed in her eyes as she glanced at 9 odds in the arena. Actually, with the force that she felt just now, although it didn't seem like she would fly out of the arena, Zhu Zhuqing could feel that she would definitely fly out. Could it be that he didn't even calculate the force of the backlash from his soul bone? There was no need for him to use the last rod to give me the final blow. It was more like he purposely let himself have a point of support in the air so that he could use the force to stabilize his body and land steadily on the ground. Tang San and the others probably couldn't feel how strong the backlash was. However, Zhu Zhuqing didn't think too much about it. After all, he had already fought 7 rounds in a row. Perhaps he was a little tired? Zhu Zhuqing was a little puzzled as she thought to herself. At this point, the battle between Purple Star College and Shrek Academy was completely over. The result could be said to be within everyone's expectations, but the process was far beyond everyone's expectations. 9-1 Open's various unconstrained attacks were simply eye-opening. It was like a magnificent show. This match was over, and the advancement round was about to end. However, the person who left the deepest impression on everyone was undoubtedly 9 odds. However, there were also people who were thinking about a question. Why didn't 9 odds release his martial soul until now? The 3 people on the main stage were all thinking about this question. Whether it was the Snowy Knight Emperor, Bishop Sakas, or Ning Fengji, they were all guessing. However, no matter how they guessed, they couldn't guess it. They would probably only see it in the finals. After defeating Zhu Zhuqing, Wang Feng quickly walked down from the arena. He originally wanted to lure Zhu Zhuqing to the edge of the arena and directly push her down. He didn't expect his opponent to react so quickly and use shadow doppelgangers to attack him. Wang Feng could only use his mysterious underworld armor to form a mysterious underworld shield to block the hidden moon slash. However, it was inevitable that Zhu Zhuqing's defense would be weakened by the backlash. In order to prevent Zhu Zhuqing from falling to the ground, Wang Feng could only use his final attack to create the illusion that he was going to attack Zhu Zhuqing. He wanted to act as a springboard for Zhu Zhuqing to stabilize her body in the air so that she could land gently on the ground. This way, no one would suspect anything. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. Just like that, the final day arrived. It was Shrek vs. God Wind Academy. This battle didn't seem to be out of Wang Feng's expectations. It could even be said that it was somewhat similar to the original work. Chapter 398. Feng Xiaotian wanted to challenge Tang San one-on-one because of Huowu. He then used his self-created soul skill, the Gale Demon Wolf's 36 consecutive slashes to attack Tang San. However, Tang San used the Clear Sky Hammer and the Chaotic Splitting Wind Hammer technique to break it. Wang Feng took a few glances. The Gale Demon Wolf's 36 consecutive slashes was an imitation of the Chaotic Splitting Wind Hammer technique. Naturally, it couldn't beat the real thing. However, Wang Feng felt that Feng Xiaotian was quite impressive. To be able to create the Gale Demon Wolf's 36 consecutive slashes, he felt that the reversal of heaven and earth that he had slowly comprehended through the Chaotic Splitting Wind Hammer technique was nothing. With the appearance of Tang San's Clear Sky Hammer, it could be considered as the final spark in the qualifier round. After all, he had twin martial souls. Wang Feng actually felt that Little 3 was a little rash. However, after thinking about it, he had already lost to him. If he lost to Divine Wind, Shrek Academy would definitely suffer a blow. Therefore, Tang San wasn't willing to admit defeat. Maybe he had thought of using the Clear Sky Hammer when he fought with him. It was just that he didn't have any chance. The appearance of the Clear Sky Hammer caused all the Academy teams, including the Snowy Knight Emperor and Bishop Sakas, to focus their attention on Tang San. Even the limelight of the 9-1 opener was overshadowed. After all, he had twin martial souls. From this, it could be seen how important martial souls were in the Douluo world. Not to mention the Clear Sky sect, which represented the first of the 3 upper sects. The Clear Sky Hammer, which was known as the strongest tool martial soul in the continent. Wang Feng watched quietly. He didn't feel anything. This was something that should have happened. It didn't change because of his arrival. Although Wang Feng had changed a lot of things, there were some things that were not affected by him. In fact, Little 3 felt that he had some ability to protect himself now that he was exposed. This was because he had gathered a lot of experts around him. He didn't need to worry about others coveting him. However, in reality, it would still attract trouble. Just like that, the qualifier round ended. Purple Star College obtained the first place in the Heaven Do Empire's competition zone. The 9-1 opener's name would spread from here to even further places. At the same time, Shrek Academy was second only to Purple Star College. Coupled with the fact that they had twin martial souls, Tang San, Shrek Academy's fame was not much inferior to Purple Star College. After all, the Purple Star College only had 9-1 opener was. However, compared to Tang Wulin's twin martial souls, it was obviously more surprising and curious. Furthermore, everyone in Shrek Academy was equally powerful. After the qualifier round's words, the Snowy Knight Emperor to the of gave a reward. After that, there was the tournament round. The finals were not held in the 2 empires, but in the Martial Spirit Great Hall of the Martial Spirit City. Hall of San was Hall. City was to Tang Hall. It was located at the border between the 2 empires and was not under the jurisdiction of either empire. One of the 2 most majestic halls on the continent, the Pope's Palace, was located here. Martial Spirit City was about 20 days away from Heaven Do City, and there were 33 teams in total. There were 15 teams from both empires and 3 seeded teams. The competition was even shorter. It was an elimination round. There was no point ranking. The Snowy Night Emperor wouldn't be traveling with the team this time, so Xueqinghe was the representative to lead the 15 teams from Heaven Do City, as well as the 500 royal knights that accompanied them to Martial Spirit City. However, Martial Spirit Hall placed great importance on this competition. Apart from setting up a venue in Martial Spirit Hall for the competition, they also issued a decree that no noble soul masters were allowed to watch the competition. Honestly speaking, Wang Feng knew something was wrong when he heard the decree. Maybe it was because of the 4 soul bones, or maybe it was because of other reasons. Wang Feng couldn't care less. At this time, he was in a luxurious carriage and was discussing with everyone. The journey was long. As a team from the Heaven Do Empire, the Snowy Night Emperor would not let the 15 teams travel such a long distance. They would be exhausted by the time they reached Martial Spirit City. How would they still have the strength to compete? Hence, he prepared 15 luxurious carriages. The carriages were equipped with special soul tools to reduce vibrations. It was very comfortable. However, one person was missing from Shrek Academy's carriage. Grandmaster. Wang Feng guessed where Grandmaster had gone. Although the plot here was towards the end of the original novel, Wang Feng's memory was very vague. However, Wang Feng did not forget the relationship between Grandmaster and a certain person. Why did Grandmaster leave without telling us? Xiao Wu sat beside Tang San and whispered, "Godmother has been very angry recently. It must be because of Grandmaster." Wang Fengxin said, "Lu Erlong must be unhappy that Grandmaster went to look for his old lover to talk about their relationship." Actually, Wang Feng felt that Grandmaster was not strong enough. If he was a titled Douluo, Lu Erlong would be obedient no matter how angry she was. It was hard to be a man. If I were to guess, Grandmaster must have secretly gone to look for his lover. Ning Rongrong whispered, "Maybe it's a good female friend. Otherwise Teacher Erlong would not be so irritable." Wang Feng, "You clever little brat, you can really guess it." Wang Fengxin could not help but laugh. Ning Rongrong's guess was really accurate. Could it be that this was a woman's natural ability? Everyone was stunned when they heard this. After thinking about it, they felt that it was quite reasonable. Ahem, Rongrong, don't casually talk about teachers' matters. Wang Feng glared at Ning Rongrong. "I will listen to you, I know." Ning Rongrong blinked her eyes. "I heard that this year's Martial Spirit Palace's Golden Generation all received the Purple Record Badge. Do you know what it is? I heard from the other students that—" Dai Mubai suddenly asked. "You were told by Shui you were right?" Oscar clicked his tongue. "Mubai, you two are really together?" Dai Mubai blushed and nodded slightly. Everyone immediately sighed. "I heard from teacher that the Purple Record Badge requires one to reach rank 50 in the Martial Spirit Palace before the age of 25. It was specially issued by His Majesty the Pope. It symbolizes the strongest talent in the Martial Spirit Palace's younger generation." Tang San and Wang Feng looked at each other. This news was actually from Douluo, and these 3 are the strongest in the Martial Spirit Palace's younger generation. Their soul power is around rank 55. The youngest is only 23 years old. After listening to Tang San, the others could not help but gasp. "Isn't this too strong?" Ma Hongjun murmured. After the advancement competition, they had all broken through to rank 42 and were close to rank 43. It was an extraordinary speed. But if they were to fight with this kind of strength, probably only Tang San would have a chance. Oh, and Wang Feng. Even Dai Mubai, who was level 45, was 10 levels lower than them. With a gap of 10 ranks, they were called the Golden Generation. Their martial spirits must not be bad. End of chapter. Chapter 399. Even 9, one won't be able to defeat him, right? Oscar pinched his chin. If it's a team battle, although we haven't fought with 9-1, he's a rank 55 Soul King. What a monster! It was indeed very abnormal. Even if they took immortal medicine and cultivated normally, they wouldn't be inferior or even surpass him when they reached that age. But the 7 of them had taken immortal medicine. Not necessarily, Xiao Ao. Have you forgotten that 9-1 has never released his martial soul? Tang San shook his head. In the advancement match, he still only used his soul bone. Other than when he fought with me, he didn't reveal any information about his hidden strength. He hid it too well. I have a vague feeling that 9-1 might really be able to create a miracle this year. But our Shrek Academy can't fall behind. We still have a great chance. Tang San's words gave everyone a lot of confidence. I have twin martial souls and 8 spider spear, Rongrong's 9 treasure star glazed pagoda, Oscar's Jinhua sausage, Zhuqing's dark moon elf, Fatty's fire phoenix, Mu Bai's white tiger, and Brother Feng. Even if Brother Feng doesn't make a move, he can still use martial soul fusion skills with Zhuqing and Fatty. We might be able to defeat them, Tang San continued. Everyone nodded again. By the way, what if they also have martial soul fusion skills or even soul bones? Oscar asked. Although the reward is also soul bones, they are the golden generation of the martial spirit palace. How can they not have soul bones? A human body has a total of 6 soul bones. This question hit the nail on the head. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. Soul bones were extremely beneficial to soul masters. Although the martial spirit palace took out 4 soul bones, how could the golden generation that they nurtured with all the resources of the martial spirit palace not have soul bones? For example, the academies that Wang Feng encountered now, Tianshui, Wei Jia, and Umbra all had soul bones. Wang Feng felt that it was impossible for the seeded team of the martial spirit palace to not have soul bones. It was hard to say about martial soul fusion skills. Although soul bones were extremely rare, with the status of the martial spirit palace, they would definitely give the golden generation a piece, even if it was just one. Regarding this question, Tang San couldn't give an accurate answer. Actually, you guys can try a 7-man combination technique, Wang Feng said after thinking for a while. Everyone was stunned. 7 people combined? Of course, it's not a martial soul fusion skill, Wang Feng said. Instead, it's an attack executed by the 7 of them using their martial spirits. Do you still remember the Blazing Academy's special combined technique? Everyone nodded. That's actually a kind of 7-man combination technique. It gathers the strength of 7 people into one point. Wang Feng said with a smile. Do you still remember how strong Hu Wushuang was on the first day? Xiao San, do you have the confidence to win? Tang San thought for a moment and shook his head. Although I'm immune to fire, Hu Wushuang's soul power had already reached rank 50 at that time. His entire body's attributes had greatly increased. Unless I used the 8 spider spear and the clear sky hammer, I wouldn't have a chance of winning. The 8 spiders spear and the Haotian hammer were Tang San's best weapons. From this, one could imagine how powerful Hu Wushuang was back then. Yes, Wang Feng said in a deep voice. You can try to gather the strength of 7 people into one point. As for who this point is, it depends on your cooperation. Wang Feng finished his words. They were all dumbfounded. Yes, since the Blazing Academy could use soul skills to create such a special method, why couldn't they? Gathering everyone's strength into one point, with the strength of 7 people, not to mention a rank 55, even a rank 60 might not be impossible to defeat. This combination technique needs to be practiced. It's not like a martial soul fusion skill, which is full of stability. Wang Feng continued. Master left quickly, so I'll leave this matter to you for the time being. Although there are still more than 20 days before the martial spirit palace, you're not strangers. Shrek's 7 monsters is already a team that has experienced many battles and has a tacit understanding with each other. It's not difficult to research this 7-man combination technique. Good luck. Of course, Wang Feng wouldn't participate. At that time, he would participate in the competition as a 9-to-1, so he wouldn't have a chance. Wang Feng's words seemed to have opened a door for the 7 of them. If they could really create a 7-man combination technique, it might be possible. Just like that, along the way, the 7 of them discussed the 7-man combination technique as they cultivated. Wang Feng would sometimes take advantage of the rest of the team to go to Purple Star College's carriage. In contrast, the Purple Star College's carriage seemed very cold, with only Dean Feirun in it. "How many days have we been walking?" Wang Feng asked softly. "Almost half of it. It's been 10 days, right?" Dean Feirun yawned. 10 days? Wang Feng frowned and vaguely remembered something. He opened the curtains and shook his head. "The wind here is very noisy." The road they took was a main road. Although there were various mountains and forests nearby, the route was clear. "Don't worry, with 500 royal knights, are you still worried about small thieves attacking us?" Dean Feirun said with a smile. With that, Dean Feirun walked out of the carriage and looked at the royal knights who were wearing armor and had a cold expression. The strength of these royal knights was very high. Basically, they were all above rank 30, and there was no lack of soul ancestors above rank 40. The most important thing was that they were an army. The army was neat and disciplined. Wang Feng could feel that their combat strength was not ordinary from the fluctuations on their bodies. Small thieves, Wang Feng then thought of something and couldn't help but frown. They can't be here, right? Wang Feng looked at the surrounding terrain and realized that their road was between 2 small hills and was surrounded by dense forest. At this moment, the forest suddenly trembled. Countless birds flew out from the forest. Gusts of hurricanes seemed to be blowing down from the mountains. "Enemy attack, be alert." Almost at the moment when Wang Feng sensed it, the captain of the Royal Knights in front suddenly shouted. Obviously, these elite soldiers were also very sharp. "There really are small thieves." Dean Feirun was dumbfounded. He just said it casually. "Be careful." Wang Fengxin sneered. "Small thieves?" The people from the Martial Spirit Palace were not small thieves. Moreover, their titled Douluo would appear later. Wang Feng still had some impression that Ning Fengji would appear with the sword Douluo and bone Douluo. Even if he didn't remember, Wang Feng could guess that Xueqinghe was Ning Fengji's disciple and his daughter was in the team. How could he not be worried? However, even so, Wang Feng was still very vigilant. Because of his appearance, the Martial Spirit Palace was very likely to put his name on the list of people to kill to prevent any accidents. End of chapter. Chapter 400. After all, with his performance in the qualifiers and promotion competition, as long as the Martial Spirit Hall wasn't stupid, they would list him as a target to kill. Ning Fengji had nothing to do with Jiui Kai. They would save Tang San and the others, but not him. Why don't I disappear for a while? Wang Fengxin thought. However, Wang Feng frowned as he looked between the 2 mountains. Right at this moment, rumbling sounds came from the mountainside. Huge rocks with burning flames could be seen rolling down the mountainside. They were densely packed like a meteor shower. This terrain was too bad. Formation. All students, get out of the carriage and rush out. At the front, the commander of the Royal Knights shouted loudly. After he finished speaking, he quickly ordered the 500 soldiers to form 2 rows and block the flaming boulders that rolled down the 2 hills. It had to be said that these 500 soldiers were really strong. They released their martial souls and cooperated well. They directly formed 2 rows of iron walls and sent all the rolling flaming rocks flying. All the students of the 15 academies got out of the carriage and maintained their respective academies' formation. They quickly rushed forward and left this path. The flaming rocks had been temporarily blocked by the Royal Knight. but many people seemed to have expected something. Just as they were about to rush out of the pincer attack of the two hills, countless black-clothed men took advantage of the terrain and rushed towards the carriages of the 15 academies. These black-clothed men looked like bandits, but if one thought about it carefully, it was impossible for them to be bandits. This was because they were well-trained, agile, and had high-level soul masters. However, the Heaven Do Empire Academy was not to be trifled with either. Although the 500 royal knights were blocking the flaming rocks at the back, there were also 15 teachers from the 15 academies, all of whom were rank 60 or 70 soul masters, as well as the 15 most elite warriors of the Heaven Do Empire. If they wanted to attack them, even if they used the terrain, it would be very difficult to succeed. But was that the truth? Not really, because these black-clothed men were obviously not ordinary thieves. There were at least 1,500 of them. According to Wang Feng's estimation, there were at least 100 soul masters, perhaps not as many as the academies combined. However, they had at least 1,000 helpers. With each soul master and 4 or 5 people, they attacked one of the academies. These elite students were caught off guard. There was no helping it. Although the students of the 15 academies were all elites, they were all elite. However, not many people had seen blood before. There were very few people like Shrek, who had been thrown into the great arena of souls long ago and had actually killed people. For a moment, more than 10 academies were completely at a disadvantage. Most importantly, these men in black were too experienced. They clearly knew that most of the students in these academies were inexperienced. Even though Zhang Xian was clearly very strong, he subconsciously did not dare to use too much force, thinking that he was still in the midst of a competition. As a result, the attacks that landed on their bodies were not fatal, giving them a great opportunity to escape. As a result, these academies were temporarily forced into a passive state. Furthermore, there were high-ranked soul masters among the black-robed men. However, there weren't many of them, only a dozen or so. They were all around level 60, and they started fighting the teachers of the academy. As for the rest, they could only rely on the students to solve it. For Shrek Academy, this kind of battlefield was incomparably easy. As a team that had already experienced blood and slaughter, the 7 people cooperated well. With Tang San as the center, they surrounded Ning Rongrong and Oscar in a circle. Tang San's hidden weapons were also the main lethality. In this case, the hidden weapons in the hands of Tang San's 7 people were simply more powerful than any soul skill. Within a range of 30 to 40 meters around them, almost a vacuum zone was formed. Coupled with Tang San's powerful control, almost no black-robed man could get close to them. Where did these black-robed men come from? There are so many of them. Should we go help the other academies? Xiao Wu gently wiped the sweat from her forehead. The sweat didn't come from exhaustion, but from nervousness and excitement. Because for them, it was the first time they had encountered such a situation, similar to a battlefield. Moreover, compared to the great arena of souls, killing people in this situation could stimulate the adrenaline of the human body. Fortunately, they already had experience and could slowly calm down. Third Brother's hidden weapons are too strong in this kind of battle. Ma Hongjun looked at the other academies. They are still in a bitter battle. Most of the black-robed men on our side have been cleaned up. Tang San had the most hidden weapons on him, but the 7 of them also had hidden weapons. Moreover, they were highly toxic. Once they were hit, even if they didn't die, they were almost crippled. The other more than 10 academies had not yet rushed out of the encirclement of these black-robed men. "Hey, look over there!" At this time, Ma Hongjun suddenly said in surprise. Several people were taken aback, looked in the direction of the voice, and couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. In the distance, there was the location of Purple Star College. But the scene was very terrifying. In the center, there was only one black-robed man standing in the wind. It was Joey Kai. However, there were countless weapons around him. Cold light, Every time Jiu Ikai took a step, countless weapons would shoot out in all directions like thousands of arrows, attacking in unison. Each wave of attack would reap a large number of lives. Furthermore, when those weapons attacked, they would turn into countless black rays of light. With Tang San's purple demon eyes, he could finally see a little clearly that those were black thorns as thin as hair. Swish, swish, swish. The black rays fell from the sky, and within 100 meters of him, not a single black-robed man could get close to him. And every time the black rays completely fell and passed through the enemy's body, they would quickly turn into 4 spear blades, following different trajectories and continuing to reap the remaining enemies. From afar, these 4 spears seemed to have a life of their own, automatically attacking the enemy. Except for Purple Star College's area, all the black-robed men from the other academies were completely wiped out. Even Soul Masters were completely unable to resist. Even if they could resist the spear blades would turn into countless black rays, directly turning the enemy into a honeycomb. Then, they would quickly corrode into a pool of corpse water. Every second, at least 10 people died under this attack. So strong. At this moment, not only Shrek Academy, but the other academies were also stunned. Such a gorgeous, dazzling, yet extremely terrifying, and extremely efficient killing method. Is this the strength of Jiu Ikai's soul bone? Ma Hongjun shuddered. During the competition, who knows how much he held back against us? If he really used it, I'm afraid we would be long dead, right? His soul bone seems to have a strong poison. It can corrode soul masters into a pool of corpse water in just a few seconds. End of chapter. Chapter 401. This person's soul power is really unfathomable. Tang San shook his head and said, "Those black lights are hair-thin black thorns. Using soul bones requires soul power, and there are at least thousands of black thorns. To be able to control them so willfully, I really suspect that he is not only at rank 45. Moreover, his soul bones are too efficient, even more effective than my hidden weapons. Because those black thorns can be retracted and combined, while hidden weapons are consumables. He can also use his soul power to control them. This kind of killing weapon was too fatal for low-level soul masters. The most important thing was its high efficiency, because it could be controlled to ensure that the attack would not miss. Those black thorns are not afraid of the shield formed by low-level soul masters. It was indeed a massacre. Wang Feng didn't feel anything now. He didn't even need to open his eyes. He just closed them. He directly relied on his perception. The killing effect of the mysterious dark thorns in such a small-scale battle was too terrifying. If it was a large-scale battle, needless to say, the efficiency would be the most terrifying with the Icefire Furious Lotus. They don't seem to be targeting me. Wang Fengxin was very vigilant as he sensed the surroundings. He knew that these black-clothed men were just cannon fodder for this attack. Soul Masters above rank 70 must still be around. However, after sensing for a while, Wang Feng still didn't notice them. He couldn't help but be surprised. Is it that embarrassing for me to open a 9-1? Wang Fengxin thought, they actually didn't come to kill me? He thought that since he had shown enough strength in the preliminaries and the promotion matches, the Martial Spirit Palace should have put him as their first target, shouldn't they? At this moment, Wang Feng slightly glanced at the place where Tang San was and couldn't help but be surprised. At some point in time, Tang San and the others had been surrounded by several powerful soul cultivators. I haven't settled the score with you for ye. Are you looking down on me? Wang Fengxin couldn't help but laugh. The Martial Spirit Palace is determined to kill Tang San and the others. Is it just because they have twin martial souls? Thinking of this, Wang Feng walked into the dark, quickly took off his black robe and mask, and walked towards Tang San. On the other side, Soul Douluo. There were at least 2 Soul Douluo, 3 Soul Sages and 4 Soul Emperors. Cold sweat appeared on Tang San's forehead. Just when everyone was about to kill all the black-robed men, 4 people suddenly appeared. These 4 people exuded an extremely powerful pressure. 2 of the soul sages were already fighting Flender and Lu Erlong, while the last one was fighting Zhao Wuji and Qin Ming. The remaining 2 soul Douluo and 4 soul emperors attacked Tang San and the others. Quickly finish off this brat with twin martial spirits, and then quickly finish off that 9 open. A black-robed soul Douluo said in a sinister voice. The other one was slightly shorter and had a cold look in his eyes as he nodded slightly. Their mission was to kill this kid with twin martial spirit. It would be best if they could kill both of them. Apart from that, he couldn't let go of that 9-to-1 chance either. These 2 were of equal priority. However, the information they got was that Tang San's side was weaker, so they planned to concentrate their forces and kill him in one fell swoop instead of spreading out. After all, they had to kill the weak first before killing the strong. Therefore, Wang Feng was wrong. Looking at Tang San and the others, the black-robed soul Douluo laughed cruelly. His martial soul was directly attached to his body, and a pair of golden wings appeared behind his back. 8 soul rings were extremely dazzling. It was a golden eagle martial soul. At the same time, the soul Douluo beside him also quickly released his martial soul. His body grew rapidly, and a huge earthen yellow centipede shadow appeared on his body. He also had 8 soul rings, and his martial soul was the earthen yellow centipede. Both of their soul rings were 2 yellow, 3 purple, and 3 black. It was a very good soul ring configuration. Following this, both of them didn't hesitate at all. Their 7th soul rings lit up. The 7th soul ring of a beast soul was the most core skill, martial soul true body. Once it was used, it meant that they were absolutely serious. It was obvious that these 2 were determined to kill, and didn't want to give their opponents any chance. Similarly, with the 2 of them in the lead, the other 4 soul emperors surrounded Tang San and the others from 4 different directions. The 6 soul rings on their bodies were 4 different martial souls, and they were all emitting terrifying light. One of the soul emperor's martial soul was the control-type black gold willow. It was a special martial soul that was extremely hard and naturally resistant to fire. Why do these people want to kill us? Ma Hongjuan's face was pale. They even used their martial soul true bodies right from the start. They didn't give us any chance at all. A tall tree attracts the wind, Tang San gritted his teeth. Knowing that what Douluo said that day had come true, Tang San was very suspicious. These people were most likely sent by the martial soul hall. Just look at their strength and he would know. What kind of power would be able to mobilize so many high-ranked soul masters? And they even attacked the Heaven Do Empire's team members? And they were on their way to the finals? Soul Douluo, how do we kill them? Tang San muttered. It was impossible even if he used Yama's invitation. There was no chance. The other party had used their martial soul true bodies. He didn't even have the chance to use his hidden weapons. In the face of such a huge gap in strength, the 7 of them couldn't defeat such a lineup no matter how heaven-defying they were. Not to mention the 2 soul emperors, they were no match for the 4 soul emperors. Go! The golden eagle soul Douluo shouted coldly. Several people rushed towards Tang San and the others. Several resplendent rays of light immediately lit up. The black gold willow gave birth to a black gold willow that filled the sky and rushed towards Tang San and the others. 2 of the soul emperors had beast martial souls. One was a single-horned rhinoceros, and the other was a single-horned horse. The last one had a long-range silver arrow martial soul. The golden eagle soul Douluo even flew up. The soul rings on his body shone, and he swooped down towards Tang San's position. The other yellow earth centipede soul Douluo actually burrowed into the ground. He disappeared. In an instant, countless lights seemed to want to devour the 7 of them. Don't panic. Break out from the side of the silver spear martial soul. Tang San said calmly, he's a long-range attacker. It's best to break through. Everyone nodded. Even at this moment, they didn't panic. They still hoped to find a chance to survive. However, the yellow earth centipede soul Douluo suddenly burrowed out from the side of the silver arrow soul master and spat out a mouthful of stinky poisonous fog towards the 7 of them. He didn't give them any chance to escape. At this moment, a pitch-black light slowly lit up around the 7 of them. A huge black light barrier appeared around the 7 of them like a glass ball. Boom! Several soul skills exploded and bombarded the black light barrier, but it didn't break. The 2 beast martial soul emperors were even sent flying by the huge force. At the same time, a faint voice sounded. Why don't the few of you try to kill me? And continue tomorrow. This chapter ends. Chapter 402. The pitch-black light seemed to be able to resist everything in the world. The calm voice sounded very familiar to the 7 of them. The 7 of them turned around and saw a young man holding a black lotus with destructive light in his hand. He looked very calm as he slowly walked over. It was Wang Feng. When they were resting earlier, Wang Feng said that he wanted to take a stroll outside. They didn't expect such a sudden change. The 7 of them didn't have time to search for him, so they rushed forward. Ning Rongrong wanted to find Wang Feng and leave together. However, Flender and Lu Erlong wanted to leave first. They said that Wang Feng would follow them. The reason was simple. He was stronger than the 7 of them. If something happened to him, the 7 of them would be doomed. Hence, they didn't leave the carriage with Wang Feng. Until now, Wang Feng had appeared. It's Brother Feng's black lotus. Tang San heaved a sigh of relief. The slightly translucent black light shield seemed to be even more powerful than the last time it appeared. All 7 of them clearly remembered that it was this pitch-black light barrier that had blocked the Titan giant ape's attack back in the Great Star Do Forest. Wang Feng was only rank 30 then, and didn't have his 3rd soul ring. But now, as far as they knew, Wang Feng was level 45. The 7 of them were astonished as they watched the 2 soul emperors fly out. The 2 soul emperors weren't the only ones who were sent flying. There were also black gold willows and several silver arrows. Of course, the 2 soul emperors were the worst off. The defensive power released by the Black Lotus not only had the ability to reflect attacks, but it also had the same defensive weakening effect as the mysterious underworld armor. Wang Feng, you're finally here. Ning Rongrong ran over as she watched Wang Feng walk into the light barrier. She sobbed. I thought I was going to die. She wasn't the only one. The rest of them felt the same way. My heart was about to jump out. Ma Hongjun patted his chest. He was sweating profusely. Fortunately, I managed to block it. Captain, your Black Lotus defensive power has become stronger. It can even block so many attacks. The 4 Soul Emperors weren't the only ones who were sent flying earlier. There were also 2 Soul Douluo. However, the Golden Eagle Soul Douluo and the Yellow Earth Centipede Soul Douluo suffered far less damage than the 2 Unicorn Soul Emperors. After all, they were Soul Douluo. This was especially so for the Golden Eagle Soul Douluo. Even though she had been knocked back from her dive, she was still able to stabilize herself. She stared at Wang Feng with a sinister look in her eyes. The other Yellow Earth Centipede spat out a poisonous mist, but it was directly isolated by the black light barrier. Big Brother Feng, how long can you last? Tang San asked in a deep voice. The crisis was temporarily averted. After all, there were 2 Soul Douluo, and they wouldn't be able to hold on for long if they unleashed a barrage of attacks. They had to think of a countermeasure. This was also a question that everyone was concerned about. Back then, the Black Lotus had been able to block the Titan giant ape for 2 seconds. Now it should be able to last longer, right? Block. Wang Feng was surprised. When did I say I was going to block it? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. As an expert, how can you be a coward? Wang Feng laughed and said, Since these people want to kill us, how can we not make them stay? After rushing over, Wang Feng didn't plan to hide in the Black Lotus protective barrier. He only said that he wanted to resolve the crisis for Tang San and the others. You want to kill them? Zhu Zhuqing asked. Everyone felt their backs go numb, and they were a little confused. What else can I do? Wang Feng nodded. I already have a countermeasure. They won't be able to break through the Black Lotus's defenses for a while. The more they fight, the more tired they will be. Even if there are 2 soul Douluo, I estimate that they can hold on for at least 10 minutes. If they were titled Douluo, the Black Lotus would be able to hold on for 1 or 2 minutes. They can hold on for so long? Everyone was shocked. After that, Oscar suggested, why don't we wait for reinforcements? We can't possibly kill them. 10 minutes was already very long. At this moment, the other party quickly launched another round of attack. Several black soul rings lit up from the 6 of them. The 2 soul Douluo seemed to have sensed the strength of the mysterious barrier, and didn't hold back at all. Their 10,000-year soul rings lit up as they unleashed powerful attacks. The Golden Eagle Soul Douluo's soul skill was a physical attack. After he possessed the Golden Eagle Soul Douluo, his eagle claws became many times bigger and shone with a dark green light. A pair of wings appeared on his back. He was like a shooting star chasing after the moon. He turned into a streak of light and descended. He wanted to use all his strength to break through the light barrier. He didn't want to waste any time. 8th soul skill. Eagle strikes the earth. The Golden Eagle Soul Douluo roared. His yellow earth centipede also unleashed its 8th soul skill. He burrowed into the ground, and the ground started to tremble. Countless cracks appeared from all directions and attacked the 8 people inside the Black Lotus light barrier. 8th soul skill. Earth Surge. In comparison, the soul skills of the other 4 soul emperors were much weaker. However, they were only supplementary attacks to supplement the attacks of the 2 soul Douluo. The terrifying momentum made the few people inside the light barrier a little uneasy. This was their first time witnessing the strength of a soul Douluo. Just the might of such a high-level 10,000-year soul skill was enough to intimidate people. It wasn't something that could be resisted by any technique. Just as Wang Feng thought, a battle between high-level soul masters was just that beautiful and boring. It wasn't as interesting as a battle between mid-level and low-level soul masters. You don't have to worry, Wang Feng said slowly. Although this kind of soul skill is powerful, there will be a short gap after the attack. I will use the 3rd soul skill of the Black Lotus on you guys, Thorny Lotus. You guys maintain the formation and quickly retreat. What about you? Ning Rongrong asked subconsciously. I'll stay here temporarily to help you stall for time. I'll also see if I can destroy them. No, we want to stay with you. Ning Rongrong shook her head. The others also shook their heads. I'm going to unleash my ultimate move later. All of you will be injured if you stay here. Wang Feng frowned. Zhu Zhuqing walked over and tugged at Wang Feng's sleeve. She pursed her lips and shook her head. Brother Feng, do we look like the kind of people who would leave their teammates behind? Xiao Wu pouted. Brother, what do you think? Tang San nodded. That's right, Captain. We're also very strong, right? We can at least hold back 4 soul emperors, right? Ma Hongjun said. Dai Mubai and Oscar also nodded. Seeing this, Wang Feng couldn't say anything. So be it if they stayed. At this moment, the 2 soul Douluo and 4 soul emperors attacked again. Like 6 balls of light, they exploded above the Black Lotus. However, they couldn't break through. They only dimmed the color of the Black Lotus slightly. Following this, 3 figures were sent flying again. Little 3, cover our feet with blue-silver grass and surround us with spiderwebs. Wang Feng frowned and said in a low voice. The yellow earth centipede soul Douluo's attack was the most troublesome. It had the effect of cracking the ground and was a large-scale Ioi attack. Even if the light barrier could prevent damage from the tremors, it would be more troublesome if the ground cracked and they fell into the crack. End of chapter. Chapter 403. After hearing Wang Feng's words, Tang San quickly used his blue-silver grass and covered the ground with a layer of blue-silver grass. After that, he used the spiderweb to cover his feet. At this moment, the ground started to crack. From afar, it looked like everyone had landed in a spiderweb. The blue-silver grass covered the cracks and acted as a carpet for everyone. At the same time, Wang Feng used his thorned lotus on the four of them. Not only was their defense doubled, but they also had the ability to reflect all attack. Even a Soul Emperor would have a hard time dealing any damage to them. However, it only lasted for an hour, just like a deified soul skill. However, this was an area of effect soul skill, and it consumed very little soul power. In comparison, the Golden Lotus's deified soul skill consumed much more soul power. This was because the Black Lotus's protective barrier would disappear after changing to the Red Lotus. This couldn't be helped. They couldn't use both forms at the same time. However, the Black Lotus had reflected 150% of the attack. The stronger the attack, the stronger the rebound. Wang Feng made use of this opportunity to turn the Black Lotus into a Red Lotus. After the transformation, the barrier formed by the Black Lotus disappeared. "Stay by my side. Don't leave." Wang Feng took a deep breath and said. Everyone nodded. Wang Feng didn't want to run. Since these high-level soul masters had appeared, the titled Douluo would be here soon. There was no need to run. The sword Douluo, bone Douluo, and Dugubo hadn't arrived yet. He could only stall for time. It would be troublesome if he ran. He could fight them and see if he could kill them. In his palm, the red karmic fire lotus's dazzling icy blue crystal edges and scorching flames exuded a dreamy beauty. It looked like a beautiful flower, and didn't seem dangerous at all. Everyone watched closely. They didn't know what Wang Feng was going to do. Was he going to use his second soul skill? Although Wang Feng's second soul skill was powerful, it couldn't hurt a soul Dalu. It wasn't as if they hadn't seen the power of the Ice-Fire Furious Lotus before. Wang Feng injected a huge amount of soul power into the Red Lotus. In an instant, rays of resplendent light shone from each lotus petal. "It's so beautiful!" Ning Rongrong's eyes sparkled. Girls always pursued beauty. Not only her, but Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing were also attracted by the Red Lotus at this moment. However, Tang San's expression turned slightly serious. He could vaguely sense a terrifying energy fluctuation. Tang San couldn't put his finger on the specifics, but that feeling of terror was a kind of intuition. With his purple demon eyes, Tang San could faintly sense that at this moment, the Red Lotus was flowing with unimaginable energy fluctuations. Beautiful! Wang Feng smiled. She was indeed quite beautiful. He looked around him. Most of the academies had already pulled far away. Quite a few academies had already charged into this terrain. After all, those academies weren't like them, besieged by so many high-level soul masters. This meant that he could use that move now. This was the first time Wang Feng had used it after reaching level 45. The radiance of the Red Lotus became even more resplendent. His soul power surged into the Red Lotus like a torrential sea. At this moment, the two soul Douluo who had been sent flying, one of them was in midair, while the other was underground. They both attacked Wang Feng again. At the same time, the four soul emperors attacked Wang Feng's group of 7. Furthermore, their eyes shone even more ferociously when they saw the mysterious light barrier disappear. On the assassination list, this Shrek Academy's Tang San was on the list of people they had to kill. Similarly, another youth was also on the list of people they had to kill. It was the auxiliary-type soul master, Wang Feng. Even though they didn't know who this mysterious young man was, the two soul Douluo could guess that this young man was Wang Feng, the mysterious young prodigy of Shrek Academy, based on their unique characteristics and the Red Lotus in this young man's hand. Now, it seemed like Wang Feng's hidden abilities were even greater than Tang San's twin martial souls. This was because Wang Feng seemed to have another defense-type martial soul. Even their attacks could be completely blocked. What did this mean? A defensive soul skill used by a rank 45 soul master could block the attacks of 2 soul Douluo and 4 soul emperors? Not only could that mysterious light barrier block their attacks, but it could also weaken their abilities. If this were to be revealed, the entire continent would be shocked. But now that Wang Feng had withdrawn that terrifying pitch-black light barrier, it seemed that his soul power couldn't support it anymore, right? After all, such a powerful skill could completely block 2 waves of attack. It was already too exaggerated. Of the 6 people, 1 was a control-type soul master, and 1 was a long-range soul master. The 4 close-combat soul masters turned into 4 streaks of light as they attacked Tang San again. Although their fighting strength had been weakened by 30%, and they were also injured by the recoil, they were still far from losing their ability to fight. The golden-black soul master released a sky full of branches again, and several silver arrows of light shot over from afar. "I've finished gathering power." Wang Feng let out a deep sigh, his face slightly pale. At this moment, the red lotus light had reached a pinnacle. It was even more dazzling than the sun in the sky. The ice crystals on the lotus petals reflected the red cheeks of the 7 people. The flowing light was overflowing with color, and occasionally, an icy blue energy would flash, causing one's heart to palpitate. Close your eyes immediately when the light is too blinding, Wang Feng said in a low voice. Looking at the people who attacked him again, Wang Feng shouted softly, "Ice Flame Fury Lotus." After saying that, Wang Feng suddenly threw the red lotus out. Everyone's eyes widened. They remembered that the Ice Flame Fury Lotus was a lotus petal explosion. Wait, could it be that the entire red lotus is exploding now? As if thinking of something, Tang San felt that his breathing seemed to be frozen. Explode. Wang Feng gently snapped his fingers. Crisp and melodious. The next moment, boom. As if the whole world was lit up, the light of the scorching flames and the color of the ice crystals filled their vision. At this moment, Wang Feng quickly operated the Black Lotus and set up a pitch-black light barrier again. Logically speaking, although the name was a little Chunibyu, the person was not Chunibyu. Moreover, the power of this move, the explosion of the Hellfire Red Lotus, seemed to annihilate all the evil in the world and freeze all the beauty in the mortal world. In the endless light, everything turned into powder. The stones on the ground, the surrounding woods, and countless black-clothed men's corpses all turned into powder. The attacking black gold willow in the air turned into dust in an instant. All the attacks ceased to exist in the explosion of the Red Lotus. 2 terrifying waves of air directly exploded. The 2 soul emperors who rushed over were almost instantly burned to ashes by the scorching heat. Their skin was scorched and then they were frozen into popsicles. Then, the terrifying explosion instantly sent them flying. They were not far from death. Black Gold Willow and Light Arrow Soul Emperors, who were a little further away, were not any better. Black Gold Willow hurriedly used his Black Gold Willow to wrap himself up and his soul power crazily surged. But the result was even worse because his body was not as strong as the 2 soul emperors. After being frozen into a popsicle under the terrifying explosion, he directly turned into countless ice particles. It was as dazzling as the explosion of snowflakes. End of this chapter. Chapter 404. The 2 soul Douluo fared much better, but they were the closest to the center of the explosion. Even the golden eagle soul Douluo in the sky wasn't spared. However, he was much better off than the 4 soul emperors. After he was burned by the flames, he immediately used his soul power to unleash a defensive skill. His body seemed to be plated with a layer of gold, and he turned into a real golden eagle. After that, he was frozen. Under the terrifying impact of the explosion, he was shot in mid-air like an arrow and quickly fell to the ground. The yellow earth centipede soul Douluo on the ground was the least affected. This was because he was able to use the ground to resist the terrifying explosion. However, under the impact of the explosion, the ground seemed to have been plowed, and was directly shaken up. The yellow earth centipede soul Douluo, who had burrowed into the ground, was blown away. However, his body was covered with a thick layer of earth-like armor. Evidently, it was also a type of defensive soul skill that was used to resist the explosion. However, the earth-like armor on his body was quickly burnt to a pulp. Under the impact of the explosion, it was directly crushed. He also screamed in pain. The Ice Flame Fury Lotus's area of effect was too large. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, everything was reduced to dust. Such a large-scale offensive soul skill was several times stronger than many missiles that Wang Feng had seen before. Compared to the mysterious underworld spike, the Ice Flame Fury Lotus was an uncontrollable soul skill. Once it was released, all life within its area of effect would be dealt a fatal blow. There was no way to control enemies. This was why the second soul skill's strength and lethality far exceeded the mysterious underworld spike in large-scale battles. Once there were more than 10,000 people in a large-scale battle, the damage caused by the second soul skill was simply terrifying. Right now, Wang Feng was using it to attack the 6 soul masters. This was because although it covered a large area, it couldn't cause fatal damage to high-level soul masters, such as Soul Douluo. To soul emperors, it could cause significant damage. If they weren't assault-type soul masters, such as control-type, auxiliary-type, or long-range soul masters, their defenses weren't strong, it could even kill them instantly. However, its strength would decrease with each layer. The center was the most lethal, and the impact of the explosion would weaken. However, the special powers of fire and ice wouldn't weaken. It's more draining than I expected. However, it's also much stronger than I expected, Wang Feng murmured. At the moment of the explosion, Tang San and the others were unable to open their eyes because of the strong light. Even Tang San subconsciously closed his eyes. The terrifying impact was constantly hitting the light shield formed by the Black Lotus. Fortunately, Black Lotus has a reserve of soul power. Otherwise, it would be difficult to resist. Wang Feng thought to himself. The Ice Flame Fury Lotus exploded. This was because the explosions happened in an orderly manner. The lotus platform of the Red Lotus was the first to explode, resulting in the most powerful explosion. Following that, the lotus petals would explode one after another, resulting in the subsequent explosions. Not only did it have the terrifying destructive power of an instant explosion, but it also had the ability to continuously explode, catching the enemy off guard. Therefore, this was only a momentary burst of power. He still had to withstand the continuous explosion. A series of explosions entered the ears of the crowd. Countless ripples appeared on the pitch-black light shield. The soul power stored in the Black Lotus was quickly depleted. There was nothing he could do about it. This was the other weakness of the Ice Flame Fury Lotus, which was that it didn't differentiate between friend and foe. Fortunately, Wang Feng and Black Lotus had extremely high defensive power. Otherwise, they would have died on the spot from the explosion. The sound of the explosion gradually decreased. Wang Feng dispersed the light shield and formed a red lotus in his palm again. A sharp look flashed across his eyes. Of course, he had no intention of using it again. I'll let you have a taste of the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike. A streak of scarlet light appeared on Wang Feng's fingertip. It was the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike that burned with the red lotus karmic fire. He had seen very clearly just now. Although the 2 Soul Douluo were injured, their injuries weren't fatal. He needed to finish them off. As for the other 4 Soul Emperors, the 2 Soul Emperors were not far from death. He didn't need to finish them off. Actually, Wang Feng had an easier way to kill these 2 Soul Douluo. He could directly use the Pangu axe on them. Even if he couldn't kill them with one axe, he could at least use 2 axes to put them in a half-dead state. Wang Feng didn't even need to use the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike. Furthermore, Wang Feng felt that he should be able to use 3 axes now. However, he had exposed too much, and didn't have much soul power left. If a titled Douluo appeared later, and Douluo and the rest didn't arrive in time, what should he do? All these considerations made Wang Feng unwilling to use the penguac. Swish! In the time that Tang San and the rest closed their eyes, the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike attacked the 2 soul Douluo like a scarlet flowing light. Wang Feng didn't think too much about it. He just needed to control 2 spike. As long as they touched even a little, they would definitely be severely injured. Even if they didn't die now, they wouldn't be far from death when they returned. Furthermore, it was so silent that it was difficult to detect. CICI. 2 streaks of light directly pierced the 2 soul Douluo, who were lying on the ground. It had to be said that the soul Douluo's vitality was too tenacious. This was especially so for the yellow earth centipede. Although it was injured, it wasn't fatal. Furthermore, it recovered very quickly. However, after the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike pierced the 2 of them, their bodies jerked. They felt as if their souls were burning with a flame the size of a strand of hair. It gave them a splitting headache, and they were in excruciating pain. However, their karma wasn't as strong as when Wang Feng met them earlier. It didn't have the same effect as before. He withdrew the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike. Wang Feng heaved a sigh of relief. When he thought of using the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike earlier, Wang Feng had thought of using the Ice Flame Fury God's Lotus to attack first before using the mysterious underworld karmic fire spike to finish them off. He could be considered to have used the power of 5th gear just now. He had to use his trump cards to turn the situation around. Otherwise, the 2 soul Douluo wouldn't have any chance at all. If there was only one of them, Wang Feng could use 4th gear and his 3 soul skills to fight him. If he used the Godslayer Spear, Wang Feng was even confident that he could kill him in a short period of time. However, there were 2 of them, and there were 4 Soul Emperors. They weren't easy to deal with. Furthermore, Wang Feng didn't intend to reveal the Godslayer Spear here. At this point, Tang San seemed to have sensed that the strength of the explosion had decreased. He couldn't help but open his eyes. The moment they opened their eyes, they were all stunned. There was a huge crater in front of them. It was as if someone had used a spoon to dig out a huge portion of it from between 2 hills. Not a single blade of grass grew within a few hundred meters. Even the ground was covered by countless ice crystals and flames. 2 of the 4 Soul Emperors had disappeared. Only the 2 Soul Emperors were half lying in the distance. They were barely breathing. The 2 Soul Douluo were the same. They were even howling in pain. No one knew what kind of pain and blow they were experiencing. The 7 of them opened their mouth. They couldn't speak at all. It was too shocking. What kind of terrifying strength was this? 2 Soul Douluo and 4 Soul Emperors had no fighting strength at all. There were even 2 Soul Emperors. They couldn't even see them. Were they dead? This was the first time the 7 of them had seen Wang Feng use the Ice Flame Fury God's Lotus. Its strength was unimaginably great. Brother Feng, what was that move just now? Tang San breathed in the air, but he felt a little stuffy. End of this chapter. Chapter 405. Ice Flame Fury Lotus. Wang Feng coughed a few times and pretended to be pale and weak. The ultimate version of my second soul skill. I poured almost all my soul power into the red lotus and caused it to explode. The power of this move doesn't differentiate between friend and foe. It can even cause fatal damage to a Soul Emperor. I just used my remaining soul power to operate the Black Lotus and temporarily protected us. Although everyone knew that Wang Feng's research on soul skills was extremely deep, they didn't expect Wang Feng to be able to improve and strengthen his second soul skill into such a terrifying soul skill. Isn't this too terrifying? Ma Hongjun murmured. It's at least several times stronger than a normal Ice Flame Fury Lotus. It can even cause damage to a Soul Douluo. Those two control-type and long-range Soul Emperors were directly killed, right? The range is so big. It attacks indiscriminately. They knew the power of the Ice Flame Fury Lotus. And this ultimate version, the shock was similar to when Wang Feng saw the nuclear explosion for the first time in a documentary. A rank 45 Soul Master was able to inflict such damage on a Soul Douluo. This was simply too shocking. Tang San thought of his hidden weapon. His hidden weapon could actually cause damage to a Soul Douluo, but it required the Soul Douluo to be unprepared, and he had to attack secretly. But it was far from that level, not to mention the 4 Soul Emperors. Xiao Ao, make some sausages. Although this soul skill is terrifying, it consumes too much soul power. Tang San hurriedly said, with Brother Feng's soul power, he should only be able to use it once. Actually, I can use it twice. Wang Fengxin said. But it didn't mean much. The upper limit of the Ice Flame Fury Lotus power was there. 2 more times wouldn't be able to kill a Soul Douluo. It would only make their injuries worse. And when they were prepared, they would be more vigilant. Just now, they had hurriedly defended, so the effect was the best. So Wang Feng only used the Xianming Karmic Fire Thorn. They were now immersed in the pain of the karmic fire burning their souls and couldn't continue to attack. Wang Feng ate the Jinhua sausages to satisfy his hunger. Such a huge commotion also alarmed some of the people who were fighting in the surroundings. However, the distance was very far, and the impact of the explosion at the edge was already very small. It directly sent some of the students and black-clothed men who were still fighting flying. Flender and Lu Erlong had been held back by the 2 soul sages, and had fought their way into the forest far away. When they felt the shock waves from the explosion, they immediately rushed out and broke free from the 2 soul sages. However, they were quickly caught again. Zhao Wuji and Qin Ming were in the same situation, so they were not clear about the situation here. Let's leave this place first. Wang Feng thought for a moment and said, the other academies have already rushed out of this terrain. Everyone nodded. Their minds were still in a mess, but it was better to leave this place as soon as possible. However, they had only taken a few steps when a white figure suddenly appeared in front of them. What a powerful 8 brats! To actually be able to injure them to this extent! A feminine voice rang out from the mouth of the masked man in white. At some point in time, he was standing in front of them. It was as if a gust of wind had blown past, and he had appeared. Seeing this, Tang San and the others instantly felt their hair stand on end. There's more? Furthermore, this masked man in white exuded a terrifying soul power aura. It's a titled Douluo. Wang Feng frowned slightly. The difference in soul power was too great, and Wang Feng's perception soul skill was also a little blurry. However, Wang Feng could guess that the other party was either the Chrysanthemum Douluo or the Ghost Douluo. Titled? Ma Hongjun was stunned. What kind of cards are they playing? Even a titled Douluo has appeared? Logically speaking, the old poison, the sword Douluo, and the bone Douluo should be here soon. Why haven't they appeared yet? Wang Fengxin's heart tightened a little. He had delayed for so long because he wanted to wait for them to arrive. The old poison didn't say anything, but she was Shrek's guest elder. Before the advancement, he had returned. However, he was nowhere to be found. No one knew where he was. Even if the sword Douluo and the bone Douluo weren't requested by Ning Rongrong, they should have at least sent one of them to protect Ning Rongrong. This was also why Wang Feng wasn't very worried. However, the titled Douluo from the Martial Soul Hall had appeared at this moment. The white-clothed man slowly walked towards them. He walked very slowly, but every step he took gave everyone a pressure that was as heavy as Mount Tai. The 7 of them started to tremble. The first to collapse were Oscar and Ning Rongrong. Fortunately, Oscar supported Dai Mubai. Ning Rongrong leaned on Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing with her hands. The 7 of them released their martial souls. Ning Rongrong even used soul power amplification on the 7 of them to reduce the pressure on them. The white-clothed man was surrounded by a layer of pale yellow fog. This was the source of the pressure. You guys," at this moment, the feminine voice sounded again, as if he was shocked by their martial souls. Suddenly, he seemed to have seen something and became excited. "Impossible, how can there be so many of them?" The more excited he was, the more his figure flashed and appeared in front of the 7 of them. Boom! Almost instantly, the 7 people's minds went blank. That terrifying pressure caused the surrounding air to fall into a state of solidification. The 7 of them couldn't even move a finger. At this moment, a low voice sounded. "Although it's very dangerous now, use all your soul power and martial souls. You might be able to break through your soul power rank. Don't forget that the immortal herbs you've eaten still have strong medicinal effects." Hearing this, everyone was slightly awakened. Tang San didn't even listen to this reminder. He started to crazily use his soul power to resist the terrifying pressure from the white-clothed man. A mellow medicinal fragrance slowly spread from the 7 of them. Wang Feng didn't use it. He had already used up most of the medicinal effects. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus had used up almost half of the medicinal effects to create his current terrifying physique. Wang Feng didn't even use his soul power to resist. Wang Feng wanted to try the pressure from a new titled Douluo. It could be considered survival. It would be best if he could squeeze out the energy from the meteoric tear. If Dugubo and the 2 Douluo from the Luli sect really didn't come, he could only use the Panguak. Impossible, absolutely impossible. However, the white-clothed titled Douluo was even more shocked, especially when the 7 of them were emitting a medicinal fragrance from their bodies because of his pressure. He was like a man who had been thirsty for decades and met a peerless beauty. His eyes under the mask shone with a terrifying light. Singular velvet sky connecting chrysanthemum. No wonder you were so familiar with this kid's aura. It's actually such an immortal item. However, this singular velvet sky connecting chrysanthemum seems to have some changes? The white-clothed man swept his gaze across Dai Mubai. After that, he looked at the others. The light in his eyes became even brighter. Cocktail Phoenix Crown Flower? No, it's not just, how can this be? 8-petal Immortal Orchid? No, the 8-petal Immortal Orchid's medicinal effects aren't like this. What's going on? End of chapter. Chapter 406. The white-robed man looked at them one by one, but he didn't want to hurt them. Yearning Heartbreak Red Intestines. It's the king of all flowers, the yearning heartbreak red intestines. No wonder this girl can resist my aura even though her soul power isn't very high. The white-robed man looked at Xiao Wu with greed in his eyes and sighed. Unfortunately, it's impossible to take the yearning heartbreak red intestines after it recognizes its master. This kid, he has the aura of 2 immortal herbs on him. He took 2 of them? He's still alive? The white-robed man looked at Tang San, and his expression changed drastically. No wonder the palace sent people to kill this kid. It's a pity that 2 immortal herbs were wasted. And this one? Why don't I smell any herb on him? All 7 of them have it. Aren't they from the same academy? The white-robed man looked at Wang Feng. He naturally did not know that the medicinal effects in Wang Feng's body had already been squeezed dry, resulting in his current physique. Half a year ago, when Wang Feng and Ming were training, they didn't have much left. After training for half a year, they were all drained. This was another reason why Wang Feng didn't want to use the Red Lotus karmic fire to refine his brain and sternum. The white-robed man shook his head. Other than this young man, the others are all treasures, but even so, how did they do it? The white-robed titled Douluo stared at the howling soul Douluo on the ground in the distance, and a look of shock flashed across his eyes. 2 soul sages and 4 soul emperors had been beaten to such a state. This was completely beyond the capabilities of the 8 of them. He had just arrived, and he was shocked to see this scene. At this moment, the white-robed man sniffed, and his expression changed. This is cloud-weaving stars? Crescent moon incense? These are 2 immortal herbs. How did they appear on 2 people at the same time? Their aura is so pure that it's not inferior to the yearning heartbreak red intestines. Impossible, this kind of legendary medicinal herb actually exists. The white-robed man looked at Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing with shock in his eyes. Furthermore, these 2 immortal herbs have undergone a huge transformation. Both of their martial souls have mutated. Compared to the child who consumed the singular velvet sky reaching chrysanthemum, they were even stronger. Where did these immortal herbs come from? This is definitely not a normal immortal herb. The white-robed man's eyes shone brightly as his pressure increased once again. Pucci! The 7 of them coughed out mouthfuls of blood. Even Wang Feng's expression changed slightly. However, their soul force had increased by 1 rank, but it was of no use in their current situation. Girls, where did the immortal herbs that you 2 consumed come from? The man in white narrowed his eyes and glanced at Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong. Tell me and I won't kill you. I can even make an exception and take you as my disciples. Hearing this, the 7 of them were stunned, but their hearts also sank. Very few people knew about the immortal grass. Even a titled Douluo like Dugubo didn't know about these immortal herbs. If this titled Douluo knew about this, then he definitely had a deep understanding of these immortal herbs. Don't try to deceive me. The man in white said plainly. I know the effects of the cloud-weaving starry sky and the crescent moon incense better than any of you. The immortal herbs that you obtained are definitely not normal. Either they were altered by someone, or they were caused by a natural phenomenon. But if they were caused by a natural phenomenon, then the immortal herbs that you have on you have all changed. This is obviously impossible. There is no such thing as a coincidence. It can only be caused by someone. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. It seemed like this titled Douluo was extremely knowledgeable about these immortal herbs. The 2 of you speak. The white-robed titled Douluo stared at Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong as he spoke in a deep voice. Everyone was silent. Zhu Zhuqing didn't say a word. Ning Rongrong didn't say anything either. If you don't speak, I will kill all of you one by one. The white-robed man suddenly laughed. After speaking, 9 soul rings lit up on his body. They shone with a blinding light. Although they had guessed that the other party was a titled Douluo, seeing it with their own eyes still made the 7 of them feel suffocated. What's wrong? The white-robed man looked at the 7 of them and laughed strangely. I'm just asking you to speak. I'm not going to kill you. Is this person very important to all of you? If you don't speak, I'm really going to kill you. The 7 of them gritted their teeth. If they spoke, this secret would be exposed, and Wang Feng would be in an extremely dangerous situation. At this moment, Flender and Lu Erlong finally broke free from the 2 soul sages. When they saw the white-robed titled Douluo, they immediately charged over. The 2 of them were like 2 streaks of flowing light as they pounced towards the white-robed man. However, the white-robed man only snorted coldly. An immortal herb similar to the singular velvet sky chrysanthemum that Dai Mubai had consumed appeared in his hand. This was his martial soul. The singular velvet sky chrysanthemum was an immortal herb. If it was a martial soul, it would naturally be a very powerful one. A dim yellow light formed a barrier around the white-robed man's body. Lu Erlong and Flender turned into 2 streaks of light and collided with the barrier. However, the white-robed man's body only moved slightly. He wasn't hurt at all. On the other hand, the 2 of them were directly injured and spat out fresh blood. After that, he sensed that Zhao Wuji and Qin Ming didn't attack. The white-robed man blew at the singular velvet sky chrysanthemum in his hand. A huge shockwave was released from his martial soul and sent flying towards the white-robed man. "All right, I'm not in the mood to waste time with all of you," the white-robed man said plainly. "If you don't speak, all of you will die. If you speak, not only will I spare your lives, I'll even take you in as my disciples." The 7 of them were silent. They could faintly sense the aura of death. Suddenly, Wang Feng groaned and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He felt the energy from the meteoric tear flowing through his body and heaved a sigh of relief. This white-robed, titled Douluo's rank should be higher than Douluo's. Soul power suppression was indeed effective. The meteoric tear was still useful. Although he rarely felt this way, the energy surging from the meteoric tear could at least help him increase by 1 rank, even though it couldn't raise his physical attributes by much. How comfortable! When she saw Wang Feng spit out blood, Ning Rongrong exclaimed. After that, she gritted her teeth and said, "I can tell you." Seeing this, the others were stunned. "But you have to let them go." Ning Rongrong pointed at Wang Feng and the others. "Of course." The white-robed man smiled. "Tell me, who gave you these immortal herbs?" To be honest, although these immortal herbs were amazing, there was something wrong with them. Someone must have specially cultivated them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many changes. Although these children were precious, if they could find out who this person was, it meant that they could obtain more mutated immortal herbs in the future. That was the most important thing. "Rongrong, you." Tang San's expression turned cold. Previously, Ning Rongrong had told her father about Feng Feng cultivating these immortal herbs. Although Feng Feng didn't make a fuss about it, she gave off the feeling that she wasn't someone who would keep her mouth shut. It was no wonder that she would say it now. Tang San felt a little regretful. He shouldn't have said that Feng Feng cultivated these immortal herbs. However, Ning Rongrong took a deep breath and said slowly, "It's me. It's me. These immortal herbs were cultivated by me." Hearing this, the few of them were astonished. "Right, let's talk about something. Please give us a wave of monthly votes. We are now ranked 10th on the monthly votes list. I hope that everyone can give us some monthly votes and make it to the top 6. Thank you, ma'am. Let's continue tonight." End of chapter. Chapter 407. Almost no one expected Ning Rongrong to say something like that. This was because she had been in such a situation before. Everyone thought that she would tell them about Wang Feng nurturing the herbs. They didn't expect her to be talking about herself. This unexpected answer caused everyone to be incomparably astonished, but at the same time, they felt that it was reasonable. At this moment, everyone finally felt the emotions in Ning Rongrong's heart. They were all speechless. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Ning Rongrong in a daze. She had never thought of telling them about this. She wouldn't say it even if she died. However, she didn't expect Ning Rongrong to choose such a method to bear the pressure from this white-clothed titled Dalu. Wang Feng was also a little astonished, but he was also a little silent. He could roughly understand why Ning Rongrong had chosen to step forward at this moment. There were many reasons. Besides him, Ning Rongrong knew that she was the daughter of the leader of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Even if she admitted her identity, this white-clothed titled Douluo wouldn't dare to do anything to her because of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. However, that was impossible. The white-clothed titled Douluo wouldn't believe her. "You nurtured it?" The white-clothed titled Douluo looked at Ning Rongrong and sized her up. He couldn't help but chuckle. "A little girl like you can nurture it? However, since you dare to step forward and admit it, it means that you might know who it is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be impersonating. Your martial soul is a mutation of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Are you from the 7 treasure glazed tile sect? However, even if you are, I'll still take you away." After he finished speaking, the white-clothed titled Douluo walked in front of Ning Rongrong. Naturally, he didn't believe that Ning Rongrong was the one who nurtured the herbs. However, since she had suddenly admitted it, she would definitely know who the real person was. He wasn't sure who among the 7 of them knew who the person who nurtured the herbs was. However, since this little girl had stepped forward to impersonate, she would definitely know. As long as he captured her and interrogated her, it would be much easier than threatening the 7 of them. This little girl was too inexperienced. She actually wanted to deceive him? The white-robed, titled Douluo laughed in his heart. This silly girl said that on purpose. Wang Feng couldn't help but think to himself, attract this titled Douluo's attention. Make him focus on one person and ignore everyone else. That was what Ning Rongrong thought. Of course, she knew that if she said it out loud, no one would believe her. However, this was enough. This titled Douluo's attention was focused on her. He believed that she definitely knew who the person who had nurtured the immortal herb was. When the time came, he would interrogate her and not focus on anyone else. She wasn't stupid. She never thought that the other party would really believe her. Furthermore, if this were to drag on, no one would say a word. What if the other party really made a move on them and killed them? In any case, there were 8 of them. In the end, one of them would spill the beans. It was better for her to stand out in advance to attract the other party's attention and prevent such a situation from happening. Ning Rongrong pursed her lips and snorted softly. She thought to herself, so what if you take me away? When you find out that I'm the daughter of the leader of the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile sect, I don't believe that you'll offend the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile sect. Ning Rongrong was very clear that even though this person was a titled Douluo, he wouldn't do anything to her even if he took her away. Wang Feng is very weak now. I can't let you take him away. I can't let you hurt everyone either. However, at this moment, a laugh sounded. Since when did a titled Douluo have to threaten the younger generation? After he finished speaking, Wang Feng walked in front of Ning Rongrong and glared at her. It seemed like he was saying, "Why are you standing out?" Ning Rongrong was a little stunned. She pursed her lips and thought, "I'm just worried about you and everyone else." Oh! The chrysanthemum Douluo looked at Wang Feng and squinted his eyes. Threaten? Haha, kid, it's already good enough that I'm giving you a chance to live. So what if I'm threatening you? Wang Feng sighed softly. He knew all kinds of flowers and plants like the back of his hand. Furthermore, he had used his strange velvet sky chrysanthemum martial soul just now. This Douluo was naturally the chrysanthemum Dalu. However, Wang Feng didn't say his name. It was just that he really wouldn't let him take Ning Rongrong away. Although Ning Rongrong's actions were good, she had attracted the other party's attention. However, it was a pity that this titled Douluo's target wasn't just the person who nurtured the immortal herbs. His target was Tang San and Wang Feng. In other words, even if he took Ning Rongrong away, he would still kill them. This was the goal of their trip. You're a titled Douluo. Of course, you have the right to threaten us. However, Wang Feng paused as he spoke. At this moment, Douluo still hadn't arrived. Wang Feng had no other choice. Wang Feng's palm glowed. Pan, just as he said that word in his heart. Suddenly, a loud voice sounded from afar. Chrysanthemum Guan, you're willing to put aside your pride to threaten the younger generation just for a few herbs? Shameless. These little fellows are under my, Douluo's, protection. Why don't you try touching them? The loud voice sounded in all directions. Wang Feng was speechless. He hurriedly waved his hand and thought to himself, "You're finally here. If you don't come, I'll really have to use my penguac." Tang San and Wang Feng were very familiar with this voice. It was the old poison, Douluo. The chrysanthemum Douluo's expression changed. He looked into the distance and said coldly, "Haha. I didn't expect the old poison, who doesn't belong to any organization, to become an academy's lackey. When did you get over it, Douluo?" In the distance, Douluo flew over. His soul rings shone. His titled Douluo aura seemed to form an emerald serpent emperor as he confronted the chrysanthemum Douluo. "Aren't you a lackey too?" Douluo laughed. "Chrysanthemum Guan, I'm a senior advisor of the Shrek Academy. My status isn't lower than yours. How dare you call me a lackey? Douluo seemed to know this titled Douluo. From his tone, they seemed to be old acquaintances. However, there were only so many titled Douluo on the continent. He knew most of them. I'm warning you. If you dare to say those words again, I'll kill them too. The chrysanthemum Douluo's voice was sharp and soft. Douluo wasn't afraid at all. Their auras intertwined in midair, causing the space around them to become very stagnant. Let's retreat. Wang Feng whispered to everyone. With a titled Douluo here, there was nothing for them to do. Tang San and the others nodded and slowly retreated. However, at this moment, a ghost-like figure appeared behind the crowd, accompanied by a hoarse and gloomy voice. Old Chrysanthemum, the old poison is very close to you. What's wrong with letting him call you that? I think Chrysanthemum Guan sounds nice. Why don't I call you Little Chrysanthemum? This sinister voice sounded like it was talking to a fan. It was intermittent and it was very creepy. However, Wang Feng's body tensed up when he looked behind him. End of chapter. Chapter 408. It was a figure shrouded in shadows. His entire body was pitch black, and his voice came from within. Douluo. Wang Feng's pupils shrank. He was familiar with the two Douluo from the Martial Soul Hall. However, since Douluo had appeared, Ningfengji and the rest should have arrived as well. Why aren't they here yet? Ghost, I dare you to say that again. Douluo snorted coldly. His tone was filled with dissatisfaction towards Douluo. Douluo chuckled and said, Xiao Ju, stop wasting time. Little Juju, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and kill this Tang San and Wang Feng. Don't worry about the rest. I just circled around and realized that 9 opening had already disappeared. If we let these two escape, we won't be able to explain ourselves. Douluo was stunned when he heard this. The two of them had just arrived. He was attracted by the battle here, while Douluo went to find 9 opening to prevent him from escaping. However, he didn't expect 9 opening to really escape. Douluo's expression changed. He was obsessed with plants and he wanted to find out how these people got their herbs. However, he didn't have the chance to do so now. If he didn't accomplish his goal, he wouldn't be able to explain himself when he returned. In the next moment, Douluo's martial soul shone brightly, and a majestic aura came crashing down. Douluo didn't want to be outdone. He immediately revealed his jade unicorn snake emperor's body, and the two of them started fighting. Douluo charged towards Tang San and the rest. He disappeared almost as soon as he finished speaking to Douluo. When Douluo disappeared, Tang San and the rest broke out in cold sweat. Tang San's purple demon eyes were already activated to the maximum, but he couldn't see his opponent clearly. A titled Douluo's strength was on a completely different level to them now. Only Wang Feng's eyes flashed, and he instantly entered his spatial state. Only then was he barely able to discover Douluo's figure. Too fast. Is this the speed of a titled Douluo? Wang Feng's eyes turned around, and his expression was extremely grave. He could only see Douluo's speed after he entered his spatial state. An agility type titled Douluo's speed was far beyond Wang Feng's imagination. You're quite interesting. You can actually discover me? At this moment, Douluo's sinister voice sounded again. Not simple. A rank 45 soul master can actually match the speed of a rank 95 titled Douluo? Unfortunately, so what if you see it clearly? Douluo was astonished. He was a rank 95 titled Dalu. Even if he didn't use any soul skills, a rank 45 soul ancestor wouldn't be able to detect him. Even a soul sage or a soul Douluo wouldn't be able to detect it. How did he find out? However, Douluo couldn't be bothered to think too much about it. Almost at the same time, Tang San's team of 7 unleashed their soul skills. An extreme sense of danger lingered in their hearts. Even though they released their martial souls, it did not give them any sense of security. The strength of a titled Douluo seems to have exceeded my expectations. Wang Feng, who had entered the void state, didn't do anything. The ghost shadow Douluo was simply too fast. Tang San's team couldn't react at all. Although Wang Feng could sense Gue Douluo's position, it would be difficult for him to defeat him. Even if he used Panga's axe, it would be impossible. Even though he couldn't hit him, he might be able to block him. Black Lotus. Wang Feng let out a low growl and moved. He floated directly towards Gue Douluo. The light of the Black Lotus covered his entire body. At the same time, he gave himself the effect of the thorny lotus. The situation was urgent, and he didn't have time to use his golden lotus. You're courting death. Gue Douluo's eyes flashed coldly. A rank 45 brat dares to charge towards me? Even if he can sense my position, who gave him the confidence to do so? Both of them were too fast. Tang San's team of 7 couldn't react at all. They only heard an ear-piercing sound in the air. The huge shockwave caused everyone's clothes to flutter. Then, they saw Wang Feng fly backward. His feet left a long trail on the ground. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Finally, he supported himself with one hand on the ground. Wang Feng! The few of them screamed in shock. On the other side, Gue Douluo suddenly appeared in front of them. He looked at Wang Feng quietly. His eyes, which were hidden in his shadow, were a little shocked. This brat, he didn't die after taking one of my attacks? Gue Douluo was shocked. A rank 45 soul ancestor could take one of his attacks? He didn't hold back in his attack just now. He wanted to kill Wang Feng in one blow. He didn't use any soul skills. His body was terrifyingly strong. But this brat could take it? It's a pity that my soul power contains some shadowy force. No matter how strong this brat's body is, he'll go crazy and die if my shadowy force enters his body. Gue Douluo laughed coldly in his heart. Shadowy force was a special attack of his. It usually existed in his soul power. By attacking with his opponent, his shadowy force would enter his opponent's body and erode his opponent's spirit. It was a special spiritual attack. As for the other soul ancestor, Gue Douluo looked at Tang San. There was a fierce look in his eyes. He was about to attack. At this moment, the space around them froze a little. A streak of sword light suddenly flashed through the void. It seemed to have locked onto Gue Douluo. Only another titled Douluo could lock onto a titled Douluo's aura. A light breeze blew. Countless streaks of sword light flashed past. A white-haired elder suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Oh? Sword Dao Mortal Heart. Gue Douluo looked at that elder and said coldly, I didn't expect the famous Sword Dao Mortal Heart Sword Douluo to interfere in this matter. Scram! Gue Douluo closed his eyes. He exuded a supreme aura of Sword Dao. The sword in his hand hummed and resonated through the clouds. Wang Feng is the son-in-law of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Tang San is a friend of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Ning Fengji naturally won't agree. Ning Fengji's 7 Treasure Glazed Pagoda shone brightly. He had a faint smile on his face as he walked over slowly. Damn, you're taking advantage of me. Wang Fengxin was speechless. Since when did I agree to be the son-in-law of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect? But at this moment, Wang Feng didn't have the mood to care about this. When he came into contact with Gue Douluo earlier, Wang Feng felt an extremely cold aura enter his body from Gue Douluo's palm. Fortunately, this aura could be absorbed by the Black Lotus. It just needed some time to convert it. Otherwise, if this aura was allowed to stay in his body, it would cause trouble. However, Gue Douluo's expression was very bad. He looked at the two of them and knew that it was impossible today. He snorted coldly. Little Juju, let's go. Someone is meddling in our business today. Just remember this. End of chapter. Chapter 409. Boom. In the distance, the chrysanthemum Douluo and Douluo exploded. The sky was filled with chrysanthemum leaves and green poisonous fog. Two figures immediately separated from each other. The chrysanthemum Douluo looked at the sword Douluo with a gloomy expression. If it was only Douluo, he wouldn't be able to stop them. However, with the sword Douluo and Ningfengji behind him, things were different. They had no chance of winning at all. The two of them looked at each other and snorted coldly. They quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Seeing this, the chrysanthemum Douluo and ghost Douluo left without hesitation. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief as they watched the two of them disappear. "Brother Feng, are you all right?" Ning Rongrong ran to Wang Feng and asked with concern. That person who was all black just now seemed to be a titled Dalu. The seven of them didn't see anything clearly just now. They only saw Wang Feng fly out. "Rongrong, move aside. Let me see." At this moment, a figure flashed past. The sword Douluo appeared in front of Wang Feng. Even Ning Fengji quickly walked over. The sword Douluo pressed a hand on Wang Feng's shoulder. Tang San and the others couldn't see when this kid took a hit from the ghost Douluo. However, he and Ning Fengji rushed over. With his strength and realm, he naturally saw it. The sword Douluo's soul power entered Wang Feng's body. After checking, he was stunned. This kid seems to be completely fine. Why is he fine? Could it be that the ghost Douluo's strength has decreased? The sword Douluo found it very strange. A rank 45 soul ancestor can take a hit from the ghost Douluo. How can he be fine? This wasn't as simple as the previous time when he kicked this kid. He didn't use soul power back then. He only used his physical body to kick him. The ghost Douluo didn't hold back just now. After a moment, Wang Feng opened his eyes and coughed. "Thank you for your concern, Senior Sword. I'm fine now. In fact, I feel very refreshed." After speaking, Wang Feng stood up. He was in high spirit. After his soul power increased by 1 rank, his Black Lotus's soul power reserve was completely replenished. There was even some excess soul power, which could be used for his own cultivation. Wang Feng felt good. "Everyone. Ha ha ha," Ning Fengji chuckled. "Not bad. You're the first person in history to be able to take a titled Douluo's attack head-on." Upon hearing this, Tang San and the others were stunned. They hadn't seen what had happened earlier. Had Wang Feng really taken a blow from a titled Douluo? No wonder he was beaten to the point of spitting blood. They had never seen Wang Feng vomit blood. Oh right. Douluo had beaten Wang Feng to the point of vomiting at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, but Wang Feng had told them it was all an act. "Cough, cough, it's fine, it's fine." Wang Feng shook his head and said modestly, "I've received a few blows from old poison before, and it's nothing serious." At this moment, Douluo walked over from afar with a serious look on his face. *T. I'm not an assault-type soul Dalu. Gui Ing was a rank 95 agility type, titled Dalu. How could they be the same? Even if he doesn't use soul skills and fights me with his physical body, I might not be able to defeat him. Cough cough. Brat, let me examine you. After saying that, Douluo walked in front of Wang Feng and examined him a little. After that, he was also shocked. Is he really fine? Douluo was stunned. That's impossible. Could it be that the ghost Douluo showed mercy? That's impossible. But how can he be fine? No matter how strong he is, can he fight a titled Douluo? Wang Feng shook his head and laughed. There's no need to examine me. I'm really fine. However, old poison, it's fortunate that you came in time today. Otherwise, I would have used my Pangu axe. Apart from Douluo, this was Wang Feng's first time fighting a real titled Dalu. They were indeed very strong. Even if he used his divinized soul skills to buff himself, he might not be able to win. Furthermore, against a titled Douluo like Gui Douluo, who was extremely fast, even if he used his spatial mirror, he might not be able to hit him. It seems like I'm still not strong enough. However, I'm only rank 45, and I want to defeat a titled Doulu. I'm really dreaming. Wang Fengxin thought to himself, especially these strong titled Doulu. According to his estimation, Wang Feng would have to wait until he was at least rank 60 before he could fight these strong titled Doulu. After all, in the domain of titled Douluo, there was a huge gap between every rank. If Douluo had used his soul skills today, he would have been in trouble. Fortunately, Bo came in time. I followed you all the way. I saw that your team was resting just now, so I found a place to rest. I didn't expect to encounter such a thing. Bo laughed and scolded, the two of you are too eye-catching. However, after today, Bo had offended the martial soul hall. Father, why didn't you come earlier? Ning Rongrong walked to Ning Fengji and pouted. We were almost in danger. If not for Wang Feng, those Soul Douluo would have killed all of us, let alone two titled Doulu. Soul Douluo? Ning Fengji was stunned. You met Soul Douluo? Did you guys have a fight before we came? Two Soul Douluo. The Sword Douluo looked around and said, Fengji, look. There must have been an even more terrifying battle here. Look at this huge pit. Such a powerful move must have been a battle between Soul Douluo. The Sword Douluo pointed at the deep pit in the distance. It was created by Wang Feng's Ice Flame Fury Lotus. Ning Fengji and Bo looked over too. They had just rushed over, and before they could observe their surroundings, the deep pit in the distance looked extremely terrifying. Little monster, little lunatic, you were attacked by Soul Douluo just now? Bo looked at the deep pit in the distance and couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. I have rarely seen such a powerful soul skill, even for Soul Douluo. Who did you meet? His soul skill was an area of effect soul skill. He was extremely shocked by such an area of effect soul skill. Evidently, the three of them thought that the other party had released them. At this moment, the two Soul Douluo had already left. When the Chrysanthemum Douluo and Gui Douluo left, they had left with them. There were also two Soul Emperor's corpses. The other two had been turned into icicles in the explosion. I remember seeing a Soul Sage with a Class 76 Ice Mountain Martial Soul and a Class 78 Volcano Martial Soul. Ning Fengji thought for a moment and said, the combination of their soul skills can definitely create such an effect. However, they aren't from the Martial Soul Hall. The deep pit in the distance was covered in icicles and flames. It looked like hell on earth. That's not all. I remember that there's a Soul Douluo with an ice flame tree in the Martial Soul Hall. He should have a similar soul skill. The Sword Douluo said, I'm guessing that one of the two Soul Douluo you met just now was him. Everyone. End of chapter. Chapter 410. Aya, Grandpa Jian, Dad, what are you guessing about? Ning Rongrong blinked. This is Wang Feng's second soul skill. It's Wang Feng who caused it, not others. Didn't I just say it? If it weren't for Wang Feng, what you see now might be our corpses. Hearing this, the Sword Douluo, Ning Fengji, and Bo were stunned. The three of them looked at Wang Feng in disbelief. When they heard Ning Rongrong's words, the three of them naturally thought it should be caused by Wang Feng. They didn't expect it to be caused by this kid. His second soul skill? The second soul skill is so powerful? Indeed, it's Brother Feng's second soul skill. To be precise, it's an improved version of Brother Feng's second soul skill. Tang San explained, it's very powerful. 2 of the 4 Soul Emperors were killed in an instant, and the other 2 lost their ability to fight. The 2 Soul Douluo were also injured. If Brother Feng didn't appear in time, I'm afraid speaking of this, Tang San looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng nodded. Since he had already exposed a trump card, there was nothing to hide. He had many trump cards, and it was fine to reveal one. The most terrifying Red Lotus Karmic Fire was his biggest trump card. I'm old. Bo sighed. You little lunatic, you're really abnormal. Your second soul skill is so powerful. The sword Douluo looked at Wang Feng with a strange expression. Ning Fengji looked at Wang Feng with a smile. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. Ning Rongrong suddenly thought of something, and her face suddenly turned red. Then she secretly glanced at Wang Feng. Ahem, let's talk about today's matter first. Wang Feng was a little uncomfortable under Ning Fengji's gaze. They should be sent by the Martial Spirit Hall, right? Wang Feng changed the topic, and immediately everyone fell silent. Tang San had already guessed it. They must be sent by the Martial Spirit Hall. Yes, Ning Fengji's expression changed slightly, and he sighed softly. Only the Martial Spirit Hall has the strength to dispatch such a large-scale and well-trained team. You should have guessed the reason, right? Tang San was silent. Dogu Bo had told him long ago. Is it because my brother has twin martial souls? Xiao Wu suddenly asked. That's not all, Ning Fengji shook his head. If you only have twin martial souls, they wouldn't have sent a titled Douluo to kill you. It's because of the clear sky hammer. You might not know what this means. With Tang San's aptitude, this meant that he was the next vast heaven Douluo. How could the Spirit Hall allow a second vast heaven Douluo to appear? Tang San also understood. A cold light flashed in his eyes. What about Big Brother Feng? Tang San asked in a low voice. It's fine if they killed me for a reason, but why did they want to kill Big Brother Feng? Because they think that Wang Feng's appearance has threatened their control over the competition. Ning Fengji replied, the 7 of you may not be a threat, but Wang Feng is enough. Just look at his second soul skill. Even a rank 50 Golden Generation Soul Master might not be able to resist such an attack. But they didn't know that it was Big Brother Feng's soul skill? Tang San frowned. Uncle Ning, even you didn't expect this. They might not know that the Chrysanthemum Douluo appeared after Big Brother Feng finished his soul skill. But judging from Wang Feng's appearance in the 2 matches, it's enough to threaten them. Ning Fengji sighed. I suggest that you and Lin Feng don't go to Martial Spirit City. Otherwise, even if you win the championship, you may not be able to walk out alive. At that time, even the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile sect won't be able to protect you. Tang San was silent. Wang Feng smiled and said, no, they won't. Uncle Ning, why did they come to assassinate us? And cover their faces? Even those black-clothed men did it. They didn't want others to know that the Spirit Hall would do such a thing. If we really go to Martial Spirit City, they won't dare to kill us openly. If we die in Martial Spirit City during the competition, I don't know how many Soul Masters will be disheartened. Furthermore, after today's attack, the Spirit Hall won't do anything to us for the time being. Of course, it's still very dangerous to go to Martial Spirit City. But if we give up just because it's dangerous, won't we have wasted so much time in the competition? At this point, Wang Feng couldn't help but look at Xiao Wu. He thought to himself, although the yearning heartbroken red is the king of flowers and can help Xiao Wu conceal some soul beast aura, the Chrysanthemum Douluo didn't notice it just now. As long as Xiao Wu isn't discovered, the Spirit Hall won't be able to find any excuses. If they are discovered, Wang Feng will have a solution. Anyway, Wang Feng didn't want to give up halfway in this tournament. Furthermore, there was a more important reason. Speaking of which, since Big Brother Feng is a threat to the competition, then what about the 9-to-1 odds? At this point, Xiao Wu suddenly said, logically speaking, the 9-to-1 odds should be their first target. The 9-to-1 odds disappeared a long time ago. Ning Fengji shook his head and said, when Uncle Jian and I rushed over, we didn't notice the 9-to-1 odds at all. The battle just now was too chaotic, and the 9-to-1 odds were very slippery. We didn't even have a chance to kill him before he disappeared into the crowd. This is how smart he is at disguising himself. The battle just now was indeed very chaotic. After Tang San and the others were surrounded by the 2 Soul Douluo, they didn't have the mood to care about other battles. Naturally, they didn't pay attention to the 9-to-1 odds. After hearing this, they couldn't help but shake their heads. Since all of you have decided to continue participating in the tournament, I won't stop you. Furthermore, Lin Feng's words make sense. Ning Fengji sighed and said, but I can only do my best to ensure your safety. The Spirit Hall's strength was beyond imagination. This strength was reflected in the number of soul masters they had. Even the two empires combined couldn't compare to the Spirit Hall. After a round of discussion, the team continued on their journey. The Royal Knights had also lost some soldiers. After all, they were the Empire's elite soldiers, and could quickly recover. However, after they set off, the team seemed to be a little quiet. Wang Feng took this opportunity to return to the Purple Star College's carriage. Dean Feirun was also a cunning person. He actually didn't suffer any injuries. When they arrived at the Purple Star College's carriage, there was an additional man. A man wearing a mask. You guys talk. I'll go outside, Dean Feirun said softly. This masked man's identity was very special. After speaking, Dean Feirun walked out. You can't go to Martial Spirit City. The masked man's first sentence went straight to the point. You'll die if you go. You're very lucky today. They're targeting the people from the Shrek Academy because they're relatively weak. They didn't expect to meet a tough opponent. If they had targeted you first, you'd be dead now. End of chapter. Chapter 411. She was right. Wang Feng could roughly guess what was going on. He could tell from the number of high-level soul masters that they had sent out that they wanted to eliminate him in one fell swoop. However, it was clear that the Martial Spirit Hall had placed too much importance on Tang San's identity. They were worried that there would be another Hao Tian Douluo in the future. Although he had displayed great strength with a 9-to-1 draw, he did not have twin martial souls. The news of the Clear Sky Hammer had shocked the Martial Spirit Hall greatly. I will go, Wang Feng said plainly. In fact, if the incident with Ye had not happened, he might not have planned to go to Martial Spirit City. After fighting with the Ghost Douluo today, he felt the gap between them. If the incident with Ye had not happened, he would not have chosen to go to Martial Spirit City to participate in the tournament. He would have chosen to cultivate first. Wang Feng did not have to worry about Tang San and the others. In the worst-case scenario, Tang Hao would save their lives. However, Wang Feng felt that he could not wait after the incident with Ye. Furthermore, the tournament was the best opportunity to enter the Martial Spirit Hall to investigate. If he waited another year, what if those two fellows were still alive? What if they really became soul rings? If they were still alive, although he might not be able to save them even if he went, it was better than watching them become soul rings. If you go, I can't protect you. The masked man shook his head. I'm only reminding you because of your relationship with Feng Yuxiu. If you really want to go, I won't stop you. After she finished speaking, she left. Wang Feng watched her leave quietly. Qian Renxue did not know that he was Feng Yuxiu. It was already good that he could do this. Opening the curtains, Wang Feng gazed at the vast expanse of white mist in the distance. He seemed to be able to faintly make out a city. It was like a giant beast with its bloody mouth wide open, causing one's heart to palpitate. Martial Spirit City, Martial Spirit Hall. The Ghost Douluo and the Chrysanthemum Douluo returned with ashen faces. Oh yes, where are those two fellows? The Chrysanthemum Douluo walked into the hall. This was the headquarters of the Martial Spirit Hall. It was built magnificently, but this was a branch hall. The situation is not good. Gui Douluo shook his head and said, 4 soul emperors died in battle. I don't know what happened to those two fellows. They didn't even complete a single objective. This battle was a little tragic. The Chrysanthemum Douluo furrowed his brows as he said, logically speaking, 2 soul Douluo, 3 soul sages, and 4 soul emperors should have been enough to wipe them out. However, when I arrived, the 8 of them were completely fine. On the contrary, everyone on our side was either severely injured or crippled. I suspect that there might be someone behind them. When they arrived, Wang Feng and the others had already finished fighting. Or rather, he didn't expect it to end so quickly. It was really too fast. A single ice flame angry god Lotus had directly taken care of 6 people. Even though they were titled Douluo, they didn't expect a rank 45 soul master to be able to do this. Let's go and take a look. Only those 2 soul Douluos survived, and they should be more or less healed by now. Otherwise, we won't be able to answer to the Pope. When the 2 of them retreated, they naturally took the 2 severely injured soul Douluo with them. Hence, if they wanted to know what had happened during the battle, they could just ask these 2 soul Douluo. The 2 of them went directly to the healing hall of the Martial Soul Hall. This was where the highest-ranked medical-type soul masters of the Martial Soul Hall were. They were even soul sages. When the 2 of them entered, they saw countless gentle lights shining in the air. Evidently, several medical-type soul masters were healing the 2 soul Douluo. After all, there weren't many soul Douluo in the Martial Soul Hall. Naturally, they couldn't let them die so easily. How's the situation? The chrysanthemum Douluo placed his hands behind his back and asked a rank 70 medical-type soul sage. Medical-type soul masters were very rare, and rank 70 medical-type soul masters were already considered very high in the Martial Soul Hall. Actually, there was no need to ask. After the 2 of them walked over, they immediately furrowed their brows. This was because the 2 soul Douluo were still screaming in agony. Their external injuries had already been completely healed. However, they still seemed to be suffering from a terrifying attack. They were still screaming in agony. Their injuries have already been completely healed. The soul sage hesitated. The soul sage hesitated for a moment before continuing. However, their minds, or perhaps their souls, have been greatly damaged. They can't even rejoice. I can't do anything about this. It's not that I can't do anything. I just don't know the reason. After hearing this, the 2 titled Douluo were stunned. A medical-type soul master doesn't know the reason? Is it a spiritual attack? The chrysanthemum Douluo asked. No. The soul sage frowned. It's not as simple as a spiritual attack. It's more like a curse. It's even more powerful than a curse, and it can last forever. Their souls have been suffering from a terrifying attack, and they've been weakening. Even if we forcefully use our soul power to heal them, we can only delay their weakening. We can't do anything about it. I'm afraid that only the spellcaster himself would be able to remove this special condition. This soul sage, who was around 50 years old, sighed. After so many years, this is the first time I've encountered such a situation. If we keep using our soul power to heal them, we'll have to maintain it. It's very draining. Although the 2 soul sages were only affected by a trace of the karmic fire burned their souls. No matter how they resisted, the karmic fire would eventually burn their souls even more. Even soul Douluo couldn't withstand the pain of their souls being burned. If not for the fact that Wang Feng was in the ice fire Yin-Yang Eye, had 6 herbs, and didn't have much karmic fire, he would have been dead. Otherwise, he would have died. After hearing this, the 2 titled Douluo fell silent. Who could it be? The chrysanthemum Douluo said, "We've never seen such an attack before. It seems like we can't act rashly for now. Let's report this to the Pope and see if she can resolve it." The ghost Douluo said. The 2 of them wanted to ask about what had happened, but it seemed like they couldn't get anything out of him. More than 10 days later, the Heaven Do Empire's Soul Master team finally arrived at this city. After the attack, the next 10 or so days were calm and peaceful. Nothing happened. Wang Feng finally saw this city. Martial Soul City. This was a city that was funded by the Martial Soul Hall. It wasn't inferior to Heaven Do City in terms of grandeur. The grandeur of this city didn't refer to its size. It referred to its aura and the feeling that it gave off as a whole. At least when Wang Feng walked into this city, he could feel the special atmosphere. It was like the first time Wang Feng had visited the capital of his previous life. That kind of dense atmosphere gave people a feeling that was out of the ordinary. Martial Soul City was very small, but almost everyone in it was soul masters. Even the people in the shops on the streets were soul masters. Even the waiters in the restaurant that Wang Feng was arranged to stay in were soul masters. Even if they weren't ranked, they were still very terrifying. Wang Feng looked at the Pope's palace in the distance and whispered, "The finals are in 3 days." Chapter 412. There were only 3 days before the competition. These 3 days were naturally used to adjust the conditions of the 30 teams from the 2 empires. The Pope's palace stood on a small hill in front of Martial Spirit City. From its appearance, it looked like a Western-style cathedral from Wang Feng's previous life. However, its entire body was suffused with a faint jade gold color. From afar, it gave off a sacred feeling. Pope's Palace, Bibidon. Wang Feng knew that once he walked into that palace, it would not be so easy to come out. The Pope, as the supreme existence of the Martial Spirit Hall, led the direction of the Martial Spirit Hall. In the original work, Bibidon was known as the most talented leader in the history of the Martial Spirit Hall. He took over the position of Pope at the age of 40. Now that he was close to 50, the entire Martial Spirit Hall could be said to be thriving, suppressing the 2 empires. Wang Feng had a deep impression of this character in the original work. After all, he was the biggest villain. However, without real contact, Wang Feng did not dare to judge what kind of person he was. Everything was unknown, like a throne full of thorns. If one wanted to walk up to explore, they would inevitably be injured. On the way here, Xiao Wu also obtained her 4th soul ring. It was Lu Erlong who took her to find Soul Beast. Speaking of which, Uncle Hao should be in Martial Spirit City by now, right? Wang Feng thought for a moment. Tang Hao would definitely protect Tang San. He did not appear on the way here. But after entering Martial Spirit City, Tang Hao would definitely follow. However, these 3 days were not peaceful for Wang Feng. On the first day, dong dong dong, the door outside Wang Feng's room rang. When he opened the door, he saw Ning Rongrong standing outside. She was wearing a white dress and looking at Wang Feng. "Why aren't you resting? Why are you looking for me?" Wang Feng glanced at her. After traveling for 20 days in a row, coupled with the attacks on the way, everyone was physically and mentally exhausted. This had nothing to do with strength. As long as one was not made of iron, one would not be able to bear it. Why was this girl looking for him instead of resting? Wang Feng. Ning Rongrong pouted, walked in, and pushed the door open. "Of course I'm looking for you." As she spoke, Ning Rongrong took a few steps closer to Wang Feng. A unique fragrance entered Wang Feng's nose, causing him to frown slightly. He carefully sized up Ning Rongrong and was stunned. Unknowingly, Ning Rongrong, who was already 14 years old, seemed to have grown up quite a bit. He had also grown a lot taller. The first time he saw Ning Rongrong, her short hair had now grown into shoulder-length hair, giving her a more gentle and beautiful temperament. The most eye-catching feature of her still exquisite and beautiful face was her pair of watery eyes. They were extraordinarily quick-witted, and at first glance, one could tell that this girl was mischievous and lively. "What is it?" Wang Feng coughed a few times and asked. Ning Rongrong stared at Wang Feng, blushing slightly. "Wang Feng, I have something to tell you." After speaking, Ning Rongrong quickly added, "But, I'll tell you after the competition." "Then why are you looking for me now?" Wang Feng wondered. "Can't you look for me after the competition?" Wang Feng vaguely knew what was going on. Ning Rongrong said coquettishly, "I just wanted to remind you, and that day Dad said that you are the son-in-law of the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile sect. Just to protect you, don't take it seriously." She stuttered as she lowered her head, blushing, and occasionally glared at Wang Feng. Don't worry, I definitely didn't take it seriously. Wang Feng nodded. You. Unexpectedly, when Ning Rongrong heard this, she immediately raised her head and stomped on Wang Feng's foot in anger. Why don't you? Wang Feng reacted quickly and took a step back. You can't step on it. With a thump, Ning Rongrong stomped on the floor and became even angrier. Her chest heaved up and down as she pouted and looked at Wang Feng with red eyes. Wang Feng sighed and stretched out his foot. Fine, I'll let you step on it. Seeing this, Ning Rongrong chuckled. Looking at Wang Feng, she suddenly felt a sweetness in her heart. She gently stepped on Wang Feng's foot and snorted. All right, that's all I want to say. Remember, after the competition, I want to tell you something very, very important. After saying that, Ning Rongrong walked out of the room. Wang Feng was silent for a while. Something very important? What else could it be? Wang Feng shook his head. However, he would talk about it after the competition. Wang Feng thought that the remaining 2 days would pass peacefully, but he did not expect to hear someone knocking on his door the next day. Wang Feng opened the door and his expression changed slightly. It was Zhu Zhuqing. What was going on? One after another? Can I come in? Zhu Zhuqing glanced around the room. The hotel rooms were all arranged for single people. They were neither big nor small, and were just right for one person. Wang Feng nodded and said, Do you need something from me? Yes. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. Her cold voice fluctuated a little. Wang Feng looked at her. Zhu Zhuqing had changed a lot compared to 2 years ago when Wang Feng first saw her. She had grown a lot taller. Her cold and beautiful sides were a little more mature. Although she still had a childish face, her temperament was more elegant because of the mutation of her martial soul. Also, she was still as big as before. Her figure was the best among all the girls Wang Feng had seen. She was about 1.75 meters tall. Her body proportions were perfect. Her pitch-black hair was gently draped over her back. There were 2 ear-like hairstyles on her head, which made her look a little cuter. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to feel that Wang Feng was looking at her. Her cheeks flushed a little, and her voice fluctuated a little. Well, after the competition, I have something important to tell you. Wang Feng. What is it? Can't you say it now? Why do you have to wait until after the competition? Wang Fengxin felt a little speechless, but he still nodded. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Wang Feng and whispered, Then I'm leaving. Don't forget it. I won't. Wang Fengxin said. I can't forget it even if I want to. Zhu Zhuqing's eyes were a little happy. Her footsteps were a little light as she left the room, leaving only a wisp of delicate fragrance, which made Wang Feng sigh with emotion. It also made Wang Feng breathe a sigh of relief. However, until the 3rd day, there was a knock on the door again. Wang Feng was a little shocked. He inexplicably thought of that night. When he opened the door, Tang San was standing outside. Little San? Wang Feng thought for a moment and couldn't help but ask, Don't tell me you have something to tell me after the competition? Tang San was stunned and nodded. Brother Feng, have you guessed it? I guess it's Jill. Wang Feng laughed out loud. What is it? Can't you say it now? Actually, you can say it now. Tang San hesitated and said, After the competition, we will graduate. No matter the result of the competition, we will all go our separate ways. But even if we go our separate ways, I hope you can keep in touch with us. Wang Feng breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, Of course. Hearing this, Tang San also smiled. End of chapter. Chapter 413. Just like that, 3 days later, the finals were officially ushered in. Grandmaster had already returned when everyone entered Martial Spirit City. He didn't mention the reason for his disappearance, and no one asked. During these 3 days, Grandmaster also explained the rules to everyone. The rules of the finals were actually very simple. There were only 5 rounds. The loser would be eliminated directly through drawing lot. In the first 3 rounds, 3 seeded teams would get a bye. The remaining 30 teams would fight, and half of them would be eliminated. In the second round, the first-ranked team would get a bye. If the first-ranked team was already eliminated, the second-ranked team would get a bye, and so on. Therefore, the top 10 teams would be decided in the second round. In the third round, the second-ranked team would get a bye. The remaining 8 teams would fight to determine the top 6. In the fourth round, there would be no bye. The top 3 would be decided directly. In the last round, the individual battles would determine the 2 losers groups and the winners group. Then, the 2 losers groups would fight for a spot to challenge the winners group. After that, the champion, second runner-up, and third runner-up would be determined. Because the competition is decided by drawing lots, no one knows who their opponent will be. In the first round, the Shrek's 7 monsters will fight as a warm-up. There was a hint of gloominess in the Grandmaster's eyes, but he hid it well. You'll have a bye to rest, so cherish it. Among the teams from the Star Luo Empire, only the first 2 teams are truly a threat to you. The strength of the 15 teams was already clear after the preliminaries and the promotion round. Even if they had trump cards, it would be very difficult for them to make a comeback in the finals. Moreover, every round was a life-and-death battle. Once they lost, they would be eliminated directly. Therefore, many teams would use their trump cards in every round. It would be a tough battle. This reflected the benefits of the promotion round. Having 2 byes meant that they would have time to rest. 1 less round meant that they could conserve their strength to the greatest extent. Lin Feng, you won't be participating in the first 3 rounds. It's up to you. Grandmaster glanced at Wang Feng and said, if there are no accidents, you will still have to rely on your own strength. Everyone nodded. Then, Grandmaster explained the rules of the finals in detail to everyone. After the explanation, Grandmaster and Wang Feng stayed behind. The rest of the team prepared to go to the competition venue. Lin Feng, the finals are very dangerous. I already know that you were attacked on the way here, the master said in a low voice. But since you want to continue participating, then I will definitely support you. However, you can't hide your identity in the finals. I don't want to continue hiding it. Wang Feng smiled. If you can't hide it, then forget it. He had entered the competition with a 9-1 odds. Initially, he had only wanted to test his strength. However, he did not expect that the more he fought alone, the easier it became for him. The master nodded and said, in that case, I won't say anything more. You have to be extra careful. The people of the Martial Spirit Palace are watching you. Although they don't dare to attack you openly, they will think of some other ways to deal with you. Wang Feng had thought about Grandmaster's warning, but he could only be mentally prepared. It was unrealistic to know what methods the other party would use. Soon, Wang Feng arrived at the arena. The arena was specially set up by the Martial Spirit Palace. It was on a plaza only a few thousand meters away from the Pontiff's palace. The dueling ring had been completed long ago, and there was a layer of dim white light around it. There were 4 cylindrical objects that were inserted in various positions around the dueling ring. These were soul tools that were used to reinforce the dueling ring. With these things, the dueling ring's ability to withstand attacks was greatly increased, and anyone below the level of a Soul Emperor wouldn't be able to attack the dueling ring. Around the plaza, there were temporary resting areas built by various teams. Because the losers would be eliminated directly, the resting areas were not necessary. However, there were more than 30 teams standing around. They were the most elite soul masters of the entire continent. They looked very imposing. In comparison, the team of Purple Star College seemed more lonely. There were only a few of them. Wang Feng stood quietly. At this moment, he was standing in the Purple Star College area with a 9-1 odds. Many teams looked over from afar. Most of them were from the Star Luo Empire. At the front, there was also a row of VIP seats. However, the Pontiff would not come. Only in the last round of the competition, when they entered the Pontiff's palace, Could they see the pontiff? Purple Star College's resting area. Not long after, Dean Feilun walked back. He was sweating profusely. Your first opponent isn't too good, Dean Feilun laughed bitterly. It's Ares College, which is ranked first in the Silla Empire. Wang Feng was speechless. Is this Dean so unlucky? There were 30 teams and they drew lots at random. How did you manage to pick the first academy? I've asked around. Ares College is one of the most powerful schools in the Silla Empire. Dean Feilun sighed. All of them are above rank 41. Most of them have both offensive and defensive martial souls. They don't have any obvious weaknesses. 2 of them are agility type, 1 is assault type, 1 is control type, 2 are support type, and 1 is defense type. It's a perfect combination. With the name Ares College, they were naturally not simple. To be able to fight their way out of the Star Luo Empire meant that they were not simple either. Furthermore, the Star Luo Empire was stronger than the Heaven Do Empire. The quality of their soul masters was slightly higher. Wang Feng thought about the team from the Imperial Star Luo Academy that the Star Luo Empire had recommended. He wondered how strong they were. We met such a strong opponent in the first round, Dean Feilun shook his head. With your rank 45 strength, it'll be difficult to defeat them. Wang Feng felt that he was being manipulated under the table again. After drawing lots, they quickly started fighting. Wang Feng looked at his opponent's information and pondered. On the other side, our luck is too good. I didn't expect the Blazing Academy to admit defeat directly. Ma Hongjun chuckled. When Dean Flender drew lots and told everyone the results, they were overjoyed. Shrek Academy's first match was against the Blazing Academy. They didn't expect them to admit defeat directly. Then, we only need to fight one match tomorrow. We'll have a bye for the next match. We're in the top 6. Tang San thought for a moment and smiled slightly. If Brother Feng were here, he'd probably say that we're lucky again. Everyone laughed. Wang Feng didn't come because the master said that he wouldn't be participating in the first 3 rounds. Oh right, who did the 9-1 draw? Tang San seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but ask. It's Ares Academy from the Star Luo Empire. Flender said, when I went to draw lots, I paid special attention. But I'm not familiar with the Star Luo Empire. I only know that Ares Academy seems to be the first in the Star Luo Empire's advancement competition. Their luck is much worse than ours. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Interesting. In the first round of the competition, the first in the 2 empires' advancement competitions were going to face each other directly? Did this mean that one team would be eliminated if they lost? Ares Academy is also one of the 2 academies from the Star Luo Empire that can pose a fatal threat to you. Flender continued. I know a little about Ares Academy. At this moment, Dai Mubai suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone looked at him in surprise. End of chapter. Chapter 4:14. Ares College's status in the Star Luo Empire is no less than that of the Imperial Star Luo Academy. Dai Mubai did not seem to notice the shock in everyone's eyes. He continued, their reputation among the people is even greater because this college produced 2 titled Douluo many years ago. Everyone was enlightened. No wonder they were so strong. They actually produced titled Dalu. Even the Heaven Do Imperial Academy did not produce many titled Dalu. The most famous one was the War Sky Dalu. 200 years ago, he was said to be a man who could fight with heaven and earth. Dai Mubai laughed. Then, he said in a low voice, although he has already disappeared, his race's martial soul has been passed down. It is an extremely powerful war sky beast. It is an ancient beast that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the Titan giant ape. Legend has it that it has the strength to tear apart dragons and phoenixes. However, this race is very rare, and it is extremely difficult to pass it down. Therefore, it is not as widely known as the other top beast martial souls. The inheritance of martial souls was indeed the most important. No matter how strong a martial soul was, if it was not passed down, it would disappear sooner or later. What was the use of it? The captain of this batch of Ares College students should be someone who possesses the berserk beast martial soul. He might be a descendant of the battle heaven Doulu. This kind of martial soul is passed down through generations. I heard that the war sky Douluo had a few sons who did not inherit his martial soul, but a few descendants did. Dai Mubai's tone was a little emotional. Grandmaster listened quietly. He did not know much about the Star Luo Empire. Other than that, the martial souls of the Ares College's students are both offensive and defensive. From their configuration, we can see that they are a strong opponent. Dai Mubai shook his head. Their strength is not inferior to ours. In fact, they are even stronger. This was natural. After all, how could the first place of the Star Luo Empire's advancement competition be weaker than theirs? We will know soon. The competition wasn't slow at all. 30 teams were eliminated one after another. 8 teams were eliminated from the Heaven Do Empire, and 6 from the Star Luo Empire. Although it was only the first round, the weaker teams were eliminated without any resistance. It was very cruel. Until the last match of the round. They were the champions of the two empires, and they actually met in the first round. In the arena, Wang Feng finally saw the team from Ares College and was speechless. If he had met a team from the Heaven Do Empire in the first round, he would have won easily. This was because the Heaven Do Empire was very fearful of him. However, he did not expect that it was an academy from the Silla Empire, and it was even the first place in the advancement competition. Wang Feng scanned the area with his perception and combined it with the information that Dean Fei Luan had given him earlier. He was able to determine the strength of these 7 people. Their captain, Zhan Xiaotian, was a rank 46 assault-type soul master with his martial soul, Zhan Guangshou. Behind him were 3 young men, one tall, one short, and one skinny. Long Yang's martial soul was a mudstone loach at rank 43. Cosmic Dragon, Thunderbird martial soul, rank 43 agility type. Yu Tian, martial soul Dewdrop, rank 42 control type. There were also 2 support type students. Yu Li and Yu Feng were from the same clan. Both of their martial souls were auxiliary type Golden Wish Trees, rank 41 auxiliary type martial souls. The last defense type was an abnormally short man who looked like a dwarf. Gujalan's martial soul was a metal ball, rank 41 defense type soul master. In terms of configuration, Wang Feng really could not find any flaws, especially that Zhan Xiaotian. Although Wang Feng had never heard of his martial soul, he could feel that it did not have any obvious weaknesses. The rest of them were also extraordinary. Wang Feng had heard of the Golden Wish Tree before. It was considered a very strong support-type soul master, although it could not be compared to the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda, which could amplify all aspects. However, the Golden Wish Tree had a very big characteristic. It specialized in amplifying one element. It only amplified one ability, and it was similar to those extreme soul masters who specialized in one element. This amplification was not as comprehensive as the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda, but a single attribute amplification was very terrifying. If it was just one, it would still be fine. However, if there were 2 Golden Wish Trees, the amplification of 2 extremes would bring about a huge increase in the individual combat strength of the team. Furthermore, the other party's configuration could also control the environment. This was the most terrifying point. The Thunderbird and Dewdrop represented the combination of water and lightning. When these 2 environmental effects were combined, it was even stronger than a single environment. Although it was impossible to completely change the terrain, it was much easier if it was targeted at a single person. The 5 great elemental academies of the Heaven Do Empire all walked the path of extreme environment. Wang Feng was the first to see the two different elemental combinations. In fact, when the remaining academies saw the Aries team on the stage, especially the Heaven Do Empire's team, their first impression was that they were very strong. This could definitely be considered the highest level configuration in this tournament. Among the 30 teams, the only one that could compare was the Shrek Academy. This was because the Shrek Academy had 2 Soul Masters with 10,000-year soul rings. Furthermore, there were 2 who had yet to appear, and they should be at least rank 41. In fact, the overall strength of the Shrek Academy was slightly inferior to the Aries Academy. So now, or how could one person defeat such a team? Even the Heaven Do Empire's team was not optimistic about Jiu Kai's chances. This was even more so for the Star Luo Empire's team. The Aries team was known as an existence that could be compared to the Star Luo Empire's seeded team. Regardless of whether it was the qualifiers or the promotion matches, they had never lost a single match. Their results were not inferior to the Purple Star College's team. The team was also made up entirely of males. Because of the Aries Academy, there were not many females in this academy. This tournament was very eye-catching. Zhang Xiaotian narrowed his eyes as he looked at Jiu Kai. He only knew a few of the other teams from the Heaven Do Empire. Among them, there were only 2 that caught his eye. One of them was the Purple Star College's Jiu Kai, a man with a mysterious soul bone who had yet to reveal his martial soul. The referee looked at both teams. He could vaguely feel the surging fighting spirit in the air. Most of it came from the Aries Academy's team. This was a battle-hungry team. Compared to Jiu Kai's team, they were much calmer. Match begin. Following the announcement of the match, 7 martial souls were released instantly. Their soul rings were the best combination: yellow, yellow, purple, and purple. The most shocking one was Zhang Xiaotian. Wang Feng had never seen this team in the original novel. Thus, he was the first to see their martial souls. Zhang Xiaotian's martial soul was an extremely majestic beast. It appeared as a phantom image from Zhang Xiaotian's body. It looked a little like Erming, but it was also very different. Its entire body was silver white, and its hair was thick. It had 2 giant tusks in its mouth, and its muscles were like piles of rock. It gave off a terrifying feeling of strength. After the martial soul possession, Zhang Xiaotian's body swelled. He was only about 2 meters tall, but in an instant, he grew 50 centimeters taller. His limbs became thicker and stronger. His clothes seemed to be specially made to withstand this change. The most terrifying thing was his aura. End of chapter. Chapter 4:15. Wang Feng's expression turned solemn. This was the aura of a superior being. Just like how a dragon-type martial soul could suppress many beast martial souls, Fatty's Fire Phoenix was the same. Zhang Xiaotian's martial soul also had this effect. This silver-white Zhan Meng beast was born with this effect. As long as a beast soul master was under the might of his martial soul, their strength would be reduced by 10%. The rest of the team's martial souls were also outstanding. The Mudstone Loach was a special creature that could live on the ground for hundreds of years. It was very fast, and at the same time, had a good defense. It was an outstanding martial soul among agility-type martial souls. There was no need to talk about the Thunderbird. Lightning came from the sky and restrained flying-type soul masters. It was a flying-type soul master, and if it met someone like the Divine Wind team, it would be a fatal blow. The Dewdrop martial soul of the control-type soul master was relatively ordinary, but it also depended on the team it was placed in. If it was placed in an ordinary team, it would be mediocre. However, if it was placed in this team, it would be very useful. The Golden Wish Tree martial soul was like a cypress tree. It had a sharp conical shape and was faintly golden. However, the 2 golden wish trees flickered with different energy halos, representing different amplifications. The last metal ball martial soul surprised Wang Feng. This was because this tool martial soul had an ability similar to his mysterious underworld spike. It could change forms. However, it was much simpler. The metal ball martial soul was grayish-black and was about the size of a man's head. It was shaped like a beehive with distinct edges and corners. The moment the match began, the metal ball martial soul master immediately used his soul skill. The metal ball instantly enlarged and then disintegrated. The metal ball split into countless hexagonal pieces, forming a gigantic metal hexahedron that enveloped the two support-type and control-type soul masters within. There were also some pieces that enveloped the metal ball martial soul master, making him look like an armored warrior. His role was very obvious. He was to protect the two auxiliary-type soul masters. At this moment, Wang Feng made his move. The Golden Wish Tree was an auxiliary-type soul master of the ultimate style. Once they added a certain attribute to the three close combat soul masters, it would be very difficult to deal with them. Especially Zhang Xiaotian. Wang Feng's speed was very fast. When the 7 people on the other side saw his speed, they were also shocked. But soon, the Dewdrop Soul Master quickly chanted an incantation, and the soul rings on his body suddenly lit up. An instant cast skill. A drop of dew lightly dripped onto the stage. In an instant, more than half of the arena, other than where they were, was covered in countless water stains. Soul skill. Dripping water pierces stone. This was a soul skill that was half control type and half auxiliary type. It was able to cause water stains to appear on the surface of the arena. These water stains weren't ordinary water stains, but water stains that contained mucus. It was able to reduce the opponent's speed at the first instant and cause the opponent to reveal themselves. It could even deal with invisible enemies, and that was only one of its uses. A series of light footprints could be clearly seen on the water surface of the arena. Cosmic Dragon. Zhang Xiaotian bellowed. They did not take the initiative to attack. Long Yu was a soul master who possessed the Thunderbird martial soul. This kind of bird was actually very beautiful. Its wings were purple, and there were lightning symbols on them. Each strand of hair was like a needle. Long Yu flew into the air without any hesitation. The soul rings on his body shone, and he opened his mouth and struck the ground with a bolt of lightning. Boom! A purple bolt of lightning pierced through the air and landed on the wet arena. In an instant, more than half of the arena flickered with purple lightning. The lightning bolt from the Thunderbird Soul Master had caused more than half of the arena to be engulfed in lightning. Just these 2 moves alone were enough to make it difficult for many teams to resist. Under such a large-scale combination of water and lightning, many Soul Masters couldn't even unleash their full strength. Their bodies were numb, and they were like fish on a chopping board. However, these 2 moves didn't last for long. Compared to the environment where only one element was superimposed, it would disappear very quickly. Above! Zhang Xiaotian bellowed and looked in another direction. Under the encirclement of the purple lightning, no matter how fast you are, you can't be faster than the speed of the lightning, right? However, as Zhang Xiaotian's voice fell, a pitch-black figure leaped high into the air. Wang Feng already had some guesses in his heart. After the 2 soul masters released their soul skills, he jumped up and temporarily avoided the attack of the water and lightning. The mysterious underworld spike couldn't block the lightning, and it was even very conductive. This was another flaw of the mysterious underworld armor. If he were to use the dark nether spike in such a situation, he would also be severely injured. Attack him! Zhang Xiaotian said in a low voice. Enemies in the air were the easiest to hit. If they couldn't fly, it would be difficult for them to dodge the attack. Just as Zhang Xiaotian finished speaking, the Thunderbird Soul Master spun and flashed. His purple wings produced 2 bolts of lightning, which were at least the size of an arm, and attacked Wang Feng. Second soul skill, Thunderwing Slash. His wings, which were rotating at high speed, brought along lightning as they were cleaved down by this soul master. At the same time, the two golden wish trees released two beams of light, which continuously landed on Zhang Xiaotian's body. Their golden wish trees had a single auxiliary ability. It increased a single attribute by a lot, but at the same time it required a long time to chant. This was because their 4 soul rings lit up at the same time. They were using a ring fusion technique. They fused 4 soul rings to maximize the amplification ability and then gave it to Zhang Xiaotian alone. This was because Zhang Xiaotian was invincible in their team of 7. If he were to be given 2 more buffs, then his strength would increase tremendously. It's ring fusion. These 2 auxiliary-type soul masters actually know the ring fusion technique. To them, who only have a single attribute amplification ability, it's like adding wings to a tiger. They can give 4 soul skills to their teammates in an instant. Many people saw through the clues. A special technique like ring fusion not only had high requirements for the soul master, but it also had high requirements for the soul ring. It wasn't something an ordinary soul master could do. They're really strong, Tang San said in a low voice. Their coordination, martial soul configuration, quality, and soul power rank aren't much worse than ours. Furthermore, they also have a strategy. No wonder they're the champion of the Star Luo Empire. From the beginning, the opponent's goal was very clear. The first thing they did was to protect the 2 auxiliary-type soul masters. Then, they quickly chanted and gave Zhang Xiaotian a boost to prevent him from being interrupted. After that, the control-type and agility-type soul masters used special attacks to obstruct the enemy's attack. When Zhang Xiaotian received 2 huge boosts, the victory was already set. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.